My name is beautiful.
We are here today to honor and to have a dialogue with the singer, songwriter, music composer, band leader, poet, and author known as Beautiful Nubia. His birth name is Olusegun Akinlolu, but his stage name is Beautiful Nubia. Why so? Beauty there stands for spiritual elevation and a quality of spirit emanating from the most powerful values of African culture. And Nubia is the name of a great African kingdom here standing for the best Africa has to offer. So this multi-talented creative aspires through his work to generate values which emanate from the heart of Africa, and from there radiate to the entire world. And in order to achieve that, he draws profoundly from the vision, the culture, the folklore, and the language of his native Yoruba language, translating this into a musical vehicle that is able to reach the entire world. The primary medium for his activities is known as Beautiful Nubia and the Roots Renaissance Band, which is quite widely regarded as Nigeria's foremost contemporary folk and roots music ensemble, with songs and albums that have achieved cult status among a global fan base. His songs unify beauty and vision, philosophical and deeply moving songs built on rich folkloric traditions and native wisdom, yet projecting a universal vision, trying to ignite a society defined by love and tolerance, and yet fueled by the potency to defend one's rights across the world. We have with us a trio of scholars who are going to engage with this multi-talented creative. He shall be dialoguing with Dr. Temitope Fagunwa, who will come first, Professor Tunji Aziz, and Banin Er. Dr. Temitope Fagunwa is a Marxist historian whose focus is on African economic history. And in that capacity, he has founded various institutional organs in pursuing this vision. At the same time, as well as being a scholar, a political activist, he is also the lead vocalist, composer, and tenor saxophonist of the Aluta Band, an Afrobeat-based music band. Professor Tunji Aziz is a professor of theater, film, and cultural studies, a leading scholar, a versatile writer, a content developer, and a director across the stage, screen, and radio in Nigeria and Europe. He has worked for the BBC Media Action, films production, among other initiatives in different parts of the world. He's bringing to this interview today decades of experience in terms of practical activity on stage in various media, as well as depth of grounding in the aesthetics and the philosophy of art, with which he will engage with Beautiful Nubia as both a philosopher and a vocal artist. Banin Er is an author, producer, and guitarist whose work focuses on contemporary music in African diaspora. He traverses all of Africa across 25 countries, doing research ceaselessly and given birth to 4 books in different genres of African music and African verbal creativity. He has reported on global music, different parts of the world, and has produced over 120 one-hour programs. He has contributed to a number of international publications, all discussing African music within a global perspective. Now, so what we have with us, we anticipate a very robust engagement with the art, the philosophy, the cultural thrust, and the global vision of beautiful Nubia. So to start this engagement, could we have Dr. Temitope Fagunwa engage our guests?
Hello, everyone. Can I be heard clearly?
Yes.
Can I be heard?
Yes.
I can hear you. Yes.
Great. I think firstly, it is important to thank Professor Falola. Hello, can I be heard?
Yes.
I think why it is important to thank Professor Falola for this platform is because I really don't think that a society can progress without not prioritizing the existence of its organic intellectuals. So Prof providing us with that platform wherein we have the opportunity of engaging our organic intellectuals is very, very germane. So that's why we have to be extremely grateful for Prof, for the commitment, and also to thank the entirety of members of the Tony Falola interviews for the commitment and also the consistency. We must also thank beautiful Nubia, our man, for, out of no time for deciding or agreeing to have this conversation with us. I think myself and Nubia, we go way, way, way back. He has been a source of inspiration to many of us. Beyond the music, his interest in the liberation of the mass of African people, politically also. And I think that's the side that many people really do not know of. I used to be a member of, and I think if the movement is to be stay active, I will still be a member of that movement, one that was created by beautiful Nubia years back. So beyond the music, the relevance of Nubia speaks across the politics, the culture, and the economics. So that's why we must also thank Nubia for deciding or agreeing to be with us this afternoon back here in Lagos, Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
Afternoon in Lagos, Nigeria. And Nubia, it is also to congratulate you for the recently released album, Olumuyiwa. It has been on our playlist all day, great tracks, and we're saying that more power, more energy to you, more knowledge for this.
Thank you.
For this, for this release. Nubia, to begin the question, assignment, I think it is not gainsaying. It is not a gainsaying fact that you and I agree, or most of us agree on the fact that the Nigerian political entity that we exist in as at this material point in time is a neo-colonial society. Nigeria, for instance, is a neo-colonial society. No matter how much you talk about it, the existing structures, the existing institutions, are clearly not of our making. The existing institutions and structures in this country and in several other countries across the African continent are not are not in tandem with the social realities and conditions of the African people. And so for some of us, that's why we are clear as to we are clear as to the factors that are responsible for the mess at which we're facing us at this point in time. So maybe if you understand this reality, that the African continent is a neo-colonial continent, Nigerian society is a neo-colonial society, I really want to ask, these institutions that are not of our making, these structures that are not of our making, are they in any way affected the entirety of what you are doing, particularly the music? If indeed these structures, these institutions, more than not have been affecting the entirety of what you have been doing, is there a way at which, or has there been ways at which you have been, you have been attempting several mediums to, overcome the challenges of what a neo-colonial society can be like?
Okay, well, I hope you can hear me.
Very well.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Temitope. I do hear these kind of questions all the time. You know, how the environment in which we operate in Nigeria, not very similar for other sub-Saharan African countries. For a creative artist, it can really be stifling. It can really be it can be something that will make you not want to do it anymore. That you want to give it up, because I think for me, one of the most important things is not just the structures, it's also how the structures have made our people become this very poor shadow of what their ancestors were. We're at a point where, you know, you feel like you're saying things and it's just like bouncing off a wall, and you're not getting the response you would expect to get from the mass of the people. And then you've got structures that have been put in place to ensure that anybody who wants to engage the people with intelligence, creativity, anybody who wants to remind people of the basics of a progressive society, anybody who tries to do that gets kind of shut down. There are impediments that are always put in your way. The Nigerian, let's talk about Nigeria specifically. In Nigeria, you know, when I started out, I was told, and those people who told me at the time, they knew, there were people who were in the know, and they had the right to say to me that you cannot play music that has strong content and expect to sell in Nigeria. It does not work that way. In this country, people just want to dance. They want to forget their problems. They don't want to hear serious messages. You know, if you want to get anywhere, please play Fuji or play Juju. And these were the things that were dominant at the time. Now it's something else. It's what the kids are calling Afro beats or whatever, you know, that's what is dominant. So from, you know, at different times we have pop music. That is what I was told. This is what Nigerians like to hear. They don't want to hear serious music. And so I was not signed by anybody. You know, so I was forced to become an independent artist, which has been amazing. It's been great for me, because this is the only means by which I've been able to do everything I have done, because I don't answer to anyone. I decide to record when I want to record. I am always hitting my head against that wall. The walls are there. The impediments are there, and I'm always going against them. I take my band on road shows, on tours, in a country with no infrastructure for that, you know, and we play sometimes to 100 people, to 50 people. You know, we've come up, and people say, how do you do it? How are you able to fund all these things? It's just, you know, there's a stubbornness about me, and there's a sense that I also have that this is something that must be done. And we have to do it. And we have to do what we can in our time while we still have the energy. And so it's the way our society has been set up. It's not just, if you just look at business generally, I used to work as a veterinary doctor. And I remember working with a company called Animal Care Services Consult. And our constant headache with dealing with the Nigerian system and the way it's been set up for you, if you're trying to do honest business, if you're trying to follow the laws that the state put up those laws, you're trying to follow them, and how difficult it is if you want to operate within those laws to make any progress. So, or to do like real honest business. And so, but even then, as a vet, these were things that we dealt with. So as a musician, it's even worse, because here you're working as an artist who's trying to steer people, who's trying to stir people up, who's trying to open people's minds, who's trying to, you know, lift their consciousness. Of course, you're going to face some kind of, the barriers are there. So I don't know if I answered your question, if I addressed it. Because I'm very good at going off topic.
No, very well, Nubia. I mean, you have been able to hit, you know, the nail on the head. I mean, so what that would be is that you are in total agreement with the fact that art cannot exist independently with politics. If if that is correct, that is, you cannot really delineate between the existence of art and politics. And so, if, as you have said, and I think we are in agreement with that fact, does that really means that you believe so much in the existence of good art and bad art? And if you believe in the existence of bad art or good art, is it so imperative for an artist to be revolutionary, both in and out?
Well, I don't like to think of art as either good or bad. I think when you have an artistic gift, it's your decision how you want to use it, how you want to use that artistic gift. Sometimes it's not your decision, though. Sometimes it's the environment in which you find yourself that dictates how you're going to use that gift. But I consciously decided, right from when I was a kid, when I was aware that I had this gift, I consciously did, and I wrote it in my book. Like my diary when I was 13. I'm going to use my music to lift my people, to heal the people, to energize, to strengthen the people, and now I call it a tool of mass sensitization. I call some other forms of music tools of mass distraction. I'm not trying to insult them. You understand? There's music as an art form that we can say, well, and then there's entertainment as music. And many artists can choose to use their music to entertain the people. It's one of the functions of art. You can use it to entertain the people. You can use it to teach the people. You can use it to guide the people, and you can use it to show the people a path to development. All that is there. It just depends on how you want to use it. So I don't look at what we can say is bad is how you deploy it. Deploy it. For example, say you want to sing, do a song, and you don't even know how to write a song properly. You don't have the words. You don't have the mastery of the words. You don't have that poetic tool. You don't have it. You're not really a student or a master of melody. You don't have to put a song together. And I've seen many people, because people come to me all the time to say, can you produce me? I believe I'm an artist. I believe I can do this. And I'll be like, from what I've heard, I don't think. So I can say, okay, this is bad music because it's bad. No, one is badly produced. Two, to be honest, I don't know if you should be, I don't know if you're a musician. I think you are trying to be one, but you want the fame. Maybe you want the money you're attracted by, but you don't really have. I don't say it because if somebody has raw talent, even if they're singing off key, even if their production is very bad, you can see it there. You hear it. You will know, okay, there's something there. Like when I started out and I took my demo to recording companies, and I remember meeting Baba Chris Agilo, the legendary Chris Agilo, and I remember him telling me, oh, your demo was so poorly produced, but you, my friend, can write songs. You are fantastic. In my years of being in this, I've never seen somebody as good as you who can, in songwriting. And he said that to me in 1994. So you could see that, even though the demo wasn't great. So but if somebody comes to you and you can say the demo is not great, he can't really sing, he doesn't even know how to use words, he doesn't understand melody, that is bad. Then you say, okay, I like that. My friend, this is not really. But when somebody can put together something, whether we agree with you or not, and in it he says, go kill them, go kill them, go kill them, and it's putting the beat and everything. Yeah, you can say the message is bad, but it's still hard. And I wouldn't call it bad art. It's just what it is. It's how you deploy your tools, your talent. I consciously chose to use my music in this way. And I do not like to compare and say what I do is superior to this or to that. What I do is just what I do. It's what I chose to do. It's if I couldn't play music this way, and I've said it many times, if I couldn't play music the way I'm doing it, I wouldn't do it. And I've always tell people, don't forget that I was a very comfortable, well-to-do veterinary doctor before I started playing music. Even though I was a musician before I became a vet, I could have stayed doing that veterinary medicine. At that time, 29 years old, a millionaire in Nigeria, you know what that meant? At that time, not now that million is nothing in Nigeria. At that time, I had money, I was doing very well. My future was very bright. I took all the money I made to start my music. Yeah, and that's what I did. That's what, for me, that was the plan. So I could have stayed in business because I wasn't a vet that was just injecting drugs in the clinic. I was doing marketing, business, importing, exporting, all kinds of stuff. That's what I was doing. So I think I could have stayed doing that, made money, be comfortable. But because I wanted to play music for a purpose that was higher than all this, bigger than money. For me, music is a tool for opening eyes. It's a tool for helping my society find itself. We are such a lost people. Terribly lost. Even the ones who think they know do not know. Even the experts who carry titles in Nigeria do not know. And that is the biggest shame of it. You go on Twitter now, you see how they're all talking. And there's a lot of talk in that country. People talk. You know, you cannot say anything, because the moment you talk, they will tell you they want to add their own, because everybody is an expert in that country. And that is why you cannot make progress, because we cannot all be experts. We cannot all be the ones who know. And we cannot turn everything into an argument. You cannot tell Nigerians, this is the way forward. They will say, hey, I think I have this one too. Let us put yes. And then you achieve nothing. Because ultimately, the greed and selfishness that has been the bane of our people for so long comes to the fore. In everything we try to do, the greed and the selfishness. And so that's why anyway, I'll talk about that later, but I came up with something which is drawn from our traditional. And when you talk about revolution now, I believe in the revolution of the mind. This is where the real change. That's what I see. Everything I'm saying here, you are the one invited me here. So I'm just stating my opinions. I'm not saying what I'm saying is right, but this is what I think. And revolution of the mind. And recently I described it as a long game. It's like you have a house, you have this house. You can see that it's rickety, it's falling apart. And some experts come and tell us, you know what, if you don't fix that foundation, that house is going to fall. But then there's a lot of voices saying, we don't have time for that. We're just going to keep patching it up, patching it. We're going to put a little poles there and there to hold it up. We're going to paint it. We're going to change it. And they're going to keep doing that. That's what we do every 4 years. Or in some places, every 5 years. You're patching it up. But the root of the problem is there. You're not fixing that problem. And so you have those who think you have to restructure Nigeria. There's no way forward. There are those who think, oh, the elections, democracy will lead us somewhere. So we'll just keep doing the elections. Eventually, we will evolve into something. But there are people like me who think we could be doing the two. There's nothing wrong in going with the two. Let those who want to do their patching keep patching. The rest of us who want to play the longer game, because the short-term game is the one where you're patching it every 4 years. But the long one, the real lasting solution will be for us to fix the root of the problem. We're just talking about colonization now. Nigeria was created by some people, for those of us who live there now. But we've never really claimed it. We love to blame those who created Nigeria. We love to blame the British. We love to blame the Americans and all these other people who have continued to rape that continent and take its resources, whether human or material. We love to blame them. But you have to ask yourself, how much have we really tried to help ourselves? There are people who have stood up in the past to help us, to lead us. And we will say, but the West destroyed them. But why did the West destroy them? It's usually the people inside who create a weakness for outsiders to get our people. So nobody's going to come and get rid of your Nkrumah or your this or your that without the connivance of those within. Hey? In my new album, you're talking about Lumuyiwa. I sang a song about a woman who was selling people in Lagos. You know that at that point, the British said, we are done with the slave trade. And this woman and people like her in the South, insisted they had to keep selling slaves because this was a business they knew. This was how they made money. And they had no problem with selling their people. Today, the African leaders have no problems selling their people. And it's not just the leaders. All of us, many of us, put us in those positions, we will do the same thing. So we need to change everything about how we think. So this is where that's where I am. the revolution of the mind. Change how people think. And we have to start it with young children. We're going to talk to the youth, yes. The youth often don't want to listen, right? But if you come to my shows, you see them there, they listen to me, right? So, but let's say it's even a bit difficult to talk to the youth, some youth. The adults, I think, are done, they are done for. But the little kids, I keep talking about it, influence them, get the right things into them. So I came up with this, this thing that I drew from Yoruba traditions, ancient Yoruba traditional wisdom. Iwa, the code, that's Iwa code. The code, the essence of a human. What is the essence of a human being? What is your purpose here? Make your life a seed that you sow in this blessed earth unto which you are born. Water that seed all the days of your life until it grows into a mighty tree, providing shade and sustenance for those coming after us. How do you achieve that? By embracing Iwa, truth. One. Number two, honest work. Honest work. Work. You must work. Three, courage. Engaging life with courage and bravery. Perseverance. Patience. Humility. And of course, what the Yorubas would say is the king of them all, contentment. You teach that to people very early. It's the same way that we indoctrinate people with our religious beliefs, that we can indoctrinate our children with these things. And so as they grow up, you end up with a mass of people who think in a very particular way, who think in a very constructive, particular way, who are thinking of how to build the community over the self. It is not socialism. It is not communism. This is just basic, an old African way of thinking, which Yorubas tried to practice in those days. I mean, for them to have come up with it, of course, they tried to practice it. There were some thinkers at that time who came up with these great ideas, and we could adopt them now. We were talking about neocolonialism. We have not tried to even take off that yoke of colonization. We're just going in the line that has been drawn for us. So they taught us how to speak English. Since we learned how to speak English in that country. We've just been talking and talking and talking and not doing. And there are people who have tried to do in the past, but there was a government, say, for example, in the southwest of Nigeria, that they had their faults. But in the 50s, there was one particular government that did try to do a lot of things for the people in healthcare, in agriculture, in education, particularly in education, to lift the people. But do you know what? Of course, we conspired against them. We'll find a way of bringing down anybody who tries. But maybe the time was not right then. Maybe the time is coming now, because we are in serious crisis now. So maybe the time is coming when this evolution of the mind will start to take root. I see it. Yeah, yesterday, somebody sent me a picture of a wall in his house on Instagram. It might be here. He sent me a picture of a framed thing on his wall. It's those things I just told you. You know what I did? I made it into a poster. Dayo Kewu, who I'm sure might be here too, he's an artist in Nigeria. He designed that poster for me and put all those things, the code for a good life, code for a happy life, I think we called it. And we listed them: truth, honest work, perseverance, contentment. This guy, of course, I put it on social media and said, please print this and put it on your wall. This gentleman followed my words to the letter. He printed it, he framed it beautifully, put it on his wall, and he sent me a message on Instagram. He said, every morning when I'm going out, I read these things. That is how we start to change minds. And hopefully, maybe in 20, 25 years, we can have a different society, a mass of people who are thinking in more progressive ways. But you see, we don't want to wait 25 years. That's the problem. We want to be able to stand on the same pedestal as the British and the Americans and be equal. But you have to do the work. That's it. I'm done with that one.
Yes, Nubia, thanks so much for that intervention. But let me just ask personally, on the basis of what you've said, your interventions, are you really trying to excuse the European nations, particularly the Western nations, the imperialist nations, from the ongoing calamity we face across the Black world, across the African continent. I'm asking this question because, of course, you said that Tikuleo Bakpani, and all of that. But what about situations where the imperialist nations themselves, have worked their fingers to the bones to penetrate some countries within the African continent, and create chaos and render the economy of the country useless, like the situation in Libya, under Muammar Gaddafi. I mean, the Western nations, did the number in that particular country. I really don't see much of, Tikule Bapani, I mean, within that context, really, because for some of us, we are clear that the, problem of the African continent is also tied to the, existence of these Western nations who are really interested in making the, the vast resources of the African continent. They come in different guise. They come through the, agents of the International Finance Capital, the IMF, World Bank, and all of these countries. So I'm asking really, on the basis of your intervention, by saying that the problem looks more internal than external, could it be that you are in a way excusing, the Western nations from their crimes, from their, inhuman crimes of over 500 years? And I'm asking this question again because you made reference to the slavery, that there was a particular woman, by my guess, that should be Tinubu, Madam Tinubu, who was involved in the Atlantic slavery in spite of the abolition of the 1806 by the British. But what we want to ask again that the British started this, the European nations started this inhuman trade in the first place. Or this human, in fact, for some of us, we're having problem in calling it trade. They started this inhuman engagement. They started it. So if you are going to, if you're going to have to cancel it, you started it to force the mass of the African people into this inhuman engagement. So if you're going to have to, abandon it, if you're going to cancel it, also the cancellation is based on their own selfish interest. So if you're going to have to cancel it, if you're going to, abolish the Atlantic slavery, could it not be possible for you to, consider the fact that the mass of African people that you are forced into this so-called trade are into it already, so that you begin to look at where do we place this blame in actual fact? I mean, my point is that can we really excuse these European nations, from the crimes at which they committed?
No, we cannot. We cannot. And I wasn't saying that at all. I didn't say, I wasn't trying to exonerate them or make excuses for them. I didn't even talk about them that much because we already know books have been written, everything has been said about that part of things. What I'm talking about is there must be that self-awareness. I remember once I was talking to some people and I said, as a conquered people, and somebody said, how can you say we were conquered? I said, but how do you get liberated if you don't
absolutely
recognize your state, accept your state? So this is where we are. We are a conquered people. We are a people who have lost an identity now.
Absolutely.
And so how do you find, then you have to do like what you call a serious self-examination. And we are not, what I'm saying is we are not really doing that. If you start examining the self, you realize that even the Libya you're talking about, there were people, local Libyans, who are used for this process, right? Because they too wanted whatever Gaddafi had. There were people there who had been converting whatever he had for a long time. Whether, I'm not saying whether it was, I don't know whether it was a bad model. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about just on paper, on the surface. We don't know what anybody was there for, whether people were there for oil, whatever. That's what the media says. I don't operate on what the media says. But just let's say, on the basic information that we got, that there was a man, they wanted to get rid of him. These people wanted to get rid of him, right? These people wanted to get rid of him. And then they used his own people against him. They came, yes, they came with whatever they had. They give, but it's still the people they're going to use. When the Europeans came to Africa, the Europeans weren't, I don't know how much research people have done, because Baba Falola is a historian. and I'm sure there are other historians who are here, they've done all this research, whether they can tell us if at any point it said that when they came to Nigeria, they were coming to colonize Nigeria. That wasn't the idea. It was our people. I mean, even them trying to get slaves from the south, because I've read a lot of these kind of stories. Even them trying to get slaves from there, they didn't even try to go. Initially, they were on their boats, just getting the slaves. And then they started building little factories on the land. And then eventually, they started. It's our people that made it possible. So the fact that we need to build a people who love their community, who won't go and undermine their own leaders, people who are trying to do something for them, who are trying to do something good for them. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking, see, the history is already there. We know that even up to now, if you want to lift yourself up, if you try to lift yourself up, if you try to build the Congo, make it strong, stop all the wars in the Congo, make sure that blah, 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 blah. The ones who want those minerals they're getting there for free, the ones who they will keep making sure that the conflicts continue. But the people who are making the conflicts in the Congo continue are not just the Europeans or the Chinese. Our people are involved too. But our people are the ones who are closest to this. And they're the ones who should, I think if you really want to say you are an upstanding, proud people, they should have to kill the last of you before they can get those minerals. We don't see that. And we've never seen that. We always see our people chicken out for their own personal interests and their families. It's always about you and your family. As long as they settle me and I can take care of my family and my progeny, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, they'll be fine. You don't care about the other people's great-grandchildren. So this is what I'm thinking more and more about us. The other thing, yes, was done. Somebody started the slave trade. Somebody created the business. Somebody has now said, I'm stopping it. Why are you not stopping it? You African person. Why are you now saying, you white man, you have taught me how to love slavery. Now I want to continue. I don't want to stop it. Why would you do that to your own people? To your own people. Do you have no milk of human kindness inside you? See, this is self-examination now, self-excoriation, where you sit down and ask yourself, what is wrong with me? Where is my so-called African pride? Why can I not be a person of principle, of high tastes? Why am I a slave to what I eat and to sex and to drink? Because even some of the people there that we call big leaders, who talk about all these theories, who write all these books, they are just like that. You give them a chance, give them a position, give them some money, give them drink, give them jewelry, give them women, and they're done. I don't buy anybody telling me he is revolutionary. I've seen it all before. What I want to see are those fruits inside you. Are you a truthful person? Are you honest? Do you actually do honest work? Huh? Are you somebody who has shown me through your own life, through your lifestyle, through the things you have done? Can you write a book about your life and tell me how you made it? Because all of them have made it in Nigeria. I keep waiting for their biographies. I want Dangote to write the biography, how he made those billions. They can tell us. The man I worked for at Animal Care, Dr. Olatunde Agbato, I'm saying he's dead now. I mentioned his name now. I knew how he made his money because he was never eating. And he never became super rich because he never could do those things that other people did. But he still became rich in that Nigeria. Took loans from the central bank, took loans from whatever. We were servicing loans. Sometimes we would go and take loans from the Union Bank to pay salaries. I was involved in it. But there were times when he couldn't pay salaries, and we'll go and take a small bank loan to pay salaries. But in the same time, there were other people building businesses, making billions, and we can just go in. And they're the ones who come and start telling us about European this time. But you go and check what they have abroad. You go and check what some families have abroad. And how some families own half of Nigeria. I don't buy all these excuses anymore. I think if we really want to make progress, we have to focus on ourselves now. We have to turn everything. The Europeans have done what they had to do. And, I don't really blame them, because I don't know if the tables were turned, if we wouldn't have done the same thing. A lot of things we blame people for. Maybe it's just human nature. I'm not saying it's maybe it's just human nature. Maybe if the tables were turned and power was in the hand of these other people, and they had all the guns and everything, maybe they would have done the same thing. Maybe. Because even before the British intervened in Yoruba land, they were busy fighting for power there too, weren't they, amongst themselves? So I think we need to start. Maybe this is the age when Johnny Astrop of Mono Mono was saying, you know, Mono Mono, when he was saying the age of consciousness. Maybe this is the real age of real African consciousness now, that we need to start turning the beam of light on ourselves and see how we can change ourselves to build strong communities that are beyond the self, the individual. Because all over the world today, you will see Nigerians boxing. Like Nigerians is a champion. They are running. Nigerians are there. Nigerians are running for Norway, for Sweden, for Saudi Arabia, Nigerians are everywhere. Check the ancestry of Jamaicans who are winning everything. Is it not Nigerian and Ghanaian? Their ancestry. Go everywhere. It's Nigeria this, Nigeria that. One boy scored a goal in the English Premier League recently. His name is Billing. Is it Billing? Billing. And I was telling my son, Philip Billing, he must be English. The boy said, I think he has Nigerian blood. All of them, he went and checked. Yes, he's Igbo. His father is Igbo. I said, you see, they're everywhere. But we love to celebrate those individual achievements. But you look at the country that we come from. You look at where we come from, and we're not making any progress there. And people tell me it's because the environment has not been made in a way that these people can thrive there. But who's going to make that environment then? We have to do it in our time. It's a challenge for us in our time. And I know that we can keep patching it, but maybe we should start thinking of how to fix our minds such that in 20 years, 25 years, over 2 generations, we can produce a new generation of people who are able to build a better society. Do the hard work. That's what I've been saying. So I hope Temitope got that. I'm not exonerating anybody. I'm not making excuses for anybody. I'm just talking about ourselves. It's us that I'm concerned about.
Very well. But I mean, before going into my other question, I would just like to say that I really don't think that in the history of invasions, and we can check it out in whatever society, there hasn't, or you would not find a class of collaborators. People don't really get to understand this. It is a fact that before Hitler could do what he did in Germany, there were some elements that were collaborating within, even within the Jewish community. So so that we understand. So
that is very, very pertinent. And so that is where you have to work on the people.
Absolutely.
We cannot keep saying because these things repeat in history that it is not possible to change things, to change society. Right. See, we have to be leaders of innovation now. Innovation in science, yes, they're doing it, but innovation in human community living. Innovations in social living, social arrangements. Africans were at the root of it. I mean, I remember when I read a book years ago, when I was 10 years old, I read about, that's why I thought, that's the first time I heard about Nubia. That's why I ended up with beautiful Nubia, But I read the book about Egypt, and they mentioned Nubia in the book. And it was about how these people had highly developed social systems and everything, where there was no homelessness. It's one of the earliest on record, one of the earliest societies that took care of its own. It's possible to have that kind of innovation where you don't have enough of a mass of people who will betray you. When you're talking about some Jews betraying others, you have to have a sizable number of them. How do you get that sizable number?
Absolutely.
You have to build our people to the point that you cannot have that sizable number of betrayers. It is possible. Nothing is impossible. Because that is the root of science. This is why, for me, I'm happy that I studied science. I know I'm in the arts, but nothing is impossible. I have to just try it.
Very well, Nubia. Nubia, thank you. I think I have a few minutes with you. So let me just let me see, if I could just, round up with my questions. Nubia, in some of the interviews you've granted in the past, you've said that, the Abrahamic religions, really, that the existence on the African continent is such that they have, potentials to serve greater purposes. That the Abrahamic religions, and by Abrahamic religions, I mean Christianity and Islam, that indeed there are some dividends, there are some goodies in these religions that the African people can deal with, that it's not totally correct to say that the Abrahamic religions have no relevance, to contemporary African society. Maybe my question to you is this, that is there a way at which we can really engage the discussion by looking at how much these Abrahamic religions have, allowed the mind that you said, have have given the leeway to the imprisonment of the minds of the African people? I mean, because you cannot talk about identity without not talking about religion. Because you said that these religions, they have in them inherently some potential, goodies. I'm curious, where are the goodies? Particularly understanding the fact that we did, and Nubia, do you agree to this part that you see on the African continent for thousands of years we didn't have religion, what we had was spirituality. Why are we not promoting that spirituality? And I know you are, but you see, I'm finding it difficult to pinpoint where you stand really on this matter, because there you are saying that the Abrahamic religions have inherently some potentials in them, but you are also promoting our spirituality. Are you doing that from a sitting on the fence kind of style, or you are genuinely interested in the rebuke of the African spirituality? And then, because I really do not have time, if you can just use that opportunity to also answer my last question, which is that your music, how did you walk into revolutionary music? How did you, the part itself, how did it start? The movement, and would it be right to say that your music is a fusion of Afrobeat, reggae, plus folk music? Maybe do you get those two questions, or do you have to repeat?
I'm just going to write it down somewhere.
Okay, the first one is the Abrahamic religions. You've said that the Abrahamic religions inherently they have some goodies in them. They can serve good purposes. I disagree with that part. Do you think that our spirituality can play this role better? The second one, your music. How did you walk into revolutionary, music, revolutionary arts? Who were your, earliest influences? Okay. Did you read books? Did you come across great musicians? And is it true? Can we agree that your music is a fusion of Afrobeat, folk music, and reggae?
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So let's start with the religion question. I think I don't know, maybe you've read my biography, maybe that's why you saw something about the religion part, because I wrote about it in my book.
Yeah, of course. But yes, I saw it in an interview.
Okay.
Way back.
Okay, yeah, because in my biography I spent quite some time on this issue. For people to understand my position on religion, I think you have to understand. I have to tell you a little bit about where the people I come from. My father's people were and are still the custodians of the Olusegun divinity in Ile-Ife. Beni, Olusegun, the Yoruba Lord of Letters. So when people say Yorubas didn't have writing, they say they didn't have writing and that they didn't write anything. People will say we were just a very oral society, that we didn't write. But if you didn't write, why would you have a divinity for the written word? So Olusegun is the Yoruba divinity of the written word. And my father's people, up to today, is still, they are still the priests of the Olusegun divinity in Ile-Ife. My father, of course, eventually became a Christian, very serious Christian, die-hard Christian. Then my mother's people were Ifa priests, not just Ifa priests, Ifa priests too. These were Ifa priests of great renown, especially during the Yoruba civil wars. And that's how they found their way to Ibadan. They were Ifa priests and Eshu devotees. Not the Eshu that people think is called Satan, the Eshu that is the messenger of the Almighty. according to our Yoruba ancestors. So if you understand where I'm coming from, I've got on one side my ancestors up to the great grandparent level, either Olusegun devotees or Ifa priests or Eshu devotees. And then the next generation became Christians and Muslims. My grandmother, with whom I spent several years, was a die-hard, hardcore Muslim who didn't miss her 5 prayers. And I went to the mosque with her several times when I was growing up. My mother, the daughter of that Muslim woman, my mother, die-hard, hardcore Christian, serious Christian. So, I mean, these are the people I came through. And through all of them, the things I heard from them, the things I learned, I started to see the commonalities. And then, of course, I started reading. As I was curious about all this stuff. So I read, I don't know if it's any religion, unless if it's a new one that came up in the last 20, 30 years. I read about almost all, I think, at least all the major religions that you can think about. I've read about them. I've studied them. Because I just wanted to see what they were all about and why people get into it. Because religion has always fascinated me. Why it gets people's minds. But I think spirituality ties into why people get so much into religion. People think they're looking for spirituality. They're looking for the meaning and the purpose of life. Usually, the first question of an individual's life, a child, your first question is, what is this about? What is the purpose? What are we here for? And you go and ask your parents, maybe you are 2 or you are 3 or whatever, and your parents, especially if you're a child, I mean, I was that kind of child who wanted to understand everything from when I could talk. And you ask questions and they'll tell you, your mother, if she's a born-again Christian, will tell you from the point of view of a Christian, this is what you are here for, to live a life, serve God, so that you can go to heaven. And they start that with you from a very early age. And you go to church and you get heavily indoctrinated. And as even as an adult, you are still scared to question those beliefs. And what religion does, whether it's Islam or Christianity, this Abrahamic religions we're talking about, and it's any religion that you find that is organized. They do it basically. They have a set of dogma, doctrines they use to kind of guide you, to put you in there. Yeah, there's like a straight jacket on the straight and narrow. Now, the purpose of this is where I said religion could be used for a good thing. Is the purpose of all that is to ensure that you stay on the straight and narrow, that you're able to, you do good things. Don't forget that when people like my mother went to the Christian church, or my father, they were not looking, they were looking for answers to their questions. Of course, they wanted to be to have happiness. They wanted to be assured of safety, that they will be safe, their children will be safe and protected. They're looking for God's protection. They're looking for how to do the right thing to get results every time they tried anything. This is why people, and then you get in there, and then religion helps you to. So if you have a tendency towards evil, I'm told some people believe we're all born in sin. Some people say that. I don't always agree with that. I always say a child is born beautiful, a beautiful spirit. Even if a child is born with certain characteristics, alagidi, stubborn child. Some children are like that. I have had children myself, and I know that my children are different in temperament, even though I've raised them. Some children are born with certain things. But it's the environment, the parenting, that then puts them on the path to what they will become. So what you find is human beings are born with certain negative tendencies that, they always want to do bad things. So we need religion to get you on the straight and narrow. And what I've said is religion, because of it, the communal supervision it allows, enables people, at least those who have good minds, those who are seeking self-improvement, it enables them to achieve that. So in a way, religion at its most simple form can serve the people. when somebody said it's the opium of the people, many people look at that thing as a negative. I look at it as a positive. What does opium do? It calms you. It makes you, it sedates you. It kind of takes away the wildness in you. It takes away, but it also takes away your desire to question things. And that is the aspect that is negative. But generally, as something that sedates you, that makes you a little bit calm, that you can then learn how to love your neighbor. You can then learn how to, but you know what is wrong with religion is that it then gives power to certain people to use their followers. So everywhere you go, it's not how religion itself, it's not the religion itself, it's the human beings who run these religious organizations. Who then know they have power over all these people, who then use this power to extract money from them, who then use this power to push them in these wrong directions. And you see it with the Islamic cleric. The more firebrand they are, the more you know something is not right. You know, you see with the Islamic cleric who tells his followers that any other person is evil, is an infidel.
Wow.
Not really true to his religion. The Christian cleric who tells everyone, who tells his leaders, his followers, that, oh, you know, our Jesus is not a Jesus of poverty. He's a Jesus of wealth, of, you know, he died for us so that we can be wealthy. But, you know, in truth, the Jesus is talking about, the part in the Bible that is recorded about Jesus, was that the Jesus said, what is recorded in the Bible, in the book that they carry on the pulpit, is that in actual fact, every Christian should try to live as simply as possible. That the more material wealth you acquire, the less godly you are. It's there. But they're not going to preach that. They're going to preach prosperity. They're going to try to push their people in a particular way because of the power and the wealth they want. So this is where religion starts to destroy our people. And of course, when people get so dogmatic with their religious beliefs, you can't even reach them with messages of how you can build society. It's hard because there's a way that these religious doctrines kind of just bind people and make them, because the root of it, like I said, is the fear that they put in you from childhood, the fear of questioning everything. So this is where, you know, religion can be bad, but it has its good uses. Now, where are you going to find the good people who are now going to use religion for good? I remember when my mother was still alive. My mother was a Christian cleric. And when she was alive, she used to tell me, any church where there are lots of people, you know, they are telling them lies there. The church that's preaching the truth, which is the truth of the same thing that you find that I just listed in the traditional beliefs, that thing, the Iwa code. The Iwa code. Any church that preaches that. And the early churches preached it. I, as a child, went with my mother to a church that preached that. When I was a child, I went to church with my mother. I don't do any religion anymore. And people know that. I'm not into any organized religion. Right? I'm not into any, I don't do organized religion. But I went to church with my mother. And I still remember. They never, ever once talked about you becoming wealthy or anything there. It was always about how you should be honest. You should be truthful. You should work hard. If you don't work hard, you cannot eat. So these were the things that, you know, I was raised on in the Christian church. But it's all changed now, hasn't it? And the same thing with Islam. Has it not changed? And so I don't know if we should be focusing too much on religion being our enemy. I think we need to focus on ourselves more, fix ourselves. There's a lot, and using traditional wisdom, we can do that.
Thank you very much. Beautiful Nubia.
Yes.
Forgive me for having to interrupt you at this point. You have regaled us with a magnificent summation of your artistic, political, philosophical, and spiritual vision, which has enabled you to rise from Nigeria's difficult conditions to illuminate this country, Africa, and the rest of the world. You have particularly demonstrated the timeless value of Yoruba philosophy, philosophy of being, Iwa, in terms of the emphasis on essence of expression, the essence of a person as different from their externalities. And you want to project this idea of who you are as different from what you possess as a demonstration of spiritual value. We would have been happy if you could go on to further engage Dr. Fagunwa's questions, but regrettably, we have to perform the not very pleasant task of having to interrupt you. Please forgive us.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
So that others may also have a chance to speak and our other guests who are listening to us may not become tired. Thank you very much. Now we shall have an announcement from a member of the team organizing this beautiful experience, Mr. Olusegun Akinlolu.
Hello, on behalf of Professor Falola, I would like to thank you all for joining. It's been a wonderful session. We have great people on the call. Because of time, I will not mention our names. And we would like to appreciate all our media partners, because currently as we are on Zoom, we are using a technology called Restream to show this live on various channels. So as we speak, we are currently on 7 television stations, stations. We are live on Tunde Kelani channel. We are live on Alaroye. And as we speak, we are live. We are being watched by over 2.7 million people across Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. So as the number increases, I'm going to bring reports for you all. Once again, we appreciate you for joining us, and thank you for listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we shall move to Professor Tunji Aziz. Prof, could you share your wisdom with us in engaging our esteemed artist and author?
I want to thank you so much, Dr. Vincent Adepoju. Beautiful Nubia, nice to see you again. I think the beginning was many years ago. I remember when we choreographed Jangbala Jubu at Maryland back then, your debut album. So I'll say we've come a long way. We have so somehow at that time, these questions that bothered me then, incidentally, is what Prof has brought us together today to discuss. So I want to thank Prof for this opportunity, for reconnecting my friend and I. For me to ask some questions, because we started off at the same time when I was running a theater troupe, and you were starting your troupe then, your musical career then. So without wasting time, I want to ask I want to go off philosophical issues, political issues, as our brother has done. I want to go specifically now to you as a person and your art. Coming from this long relationship that we have, I want to ask you, your first album, 7 Lives, remains for me my favorite. Maybe because I was involved in the choreography and all those things, but I don't know. But the message, the melody, all of these were things that I still go back to it many times and listen to it. And I believe that for me, it's it's your greatest album. So I want to ask, do you think that any other of your albums has got that potential to match that created by 7 Lives? And if so, which album is that can match, that you think, has the same acceptability, the same popularity as 7 Lives, your debut album? Because now you have over 35 albums. So,
Yeah.
but that's out for me.
Okay.
Do you agree with me, first and foremost? If you agree with me, or if you disagree with me, which album will you say, matches that in the popularity and acceptability by your audience?
Thank you, Prof. I wonder if what you're calling 7 Lives, my first album, that came out in 1997. So I think you might be referring to Jangbala Jubu that came out in 2002. Yes, Jangbala Jubu came out in 2002, and he has 7 Lives as one of his tracks. Yeah. So Jangbala Jubu was what you call a breakthrough album. It was the first album that, because before that, don't forget, like I said, 7 Lives was an album we released in 1997. After that, we released Voice from Heaven in 1999. When Jangbala Jubu came out, that was like the one that made everybody know us, right? That was one that became, so it's like a breakthrough album. And it was very, very popular. But after that, we've produced other albums that have been equally popular. There was 2006 Fere, which has some very popular songs like Tablestone, Ikoko Akufo, all those songs. And they're from Fere. So this was very, very popular, and big seller too. Very, very big seller, Fere. Kilo Kilo from 2007 was a very big seller too. And that one has songs like Kajoma Shepo and Kilo Kilo and Je, Moonlo, Je. Those who follow our music intimately, they will be nodding their heads as I'm mentioning these albums. For a lot of people who came in contact with that breakthrough album, Jangbala Jubu at the time, there are many who perhaps didn't then continue to follow the music, to engage with the music, because because I always like to say an artist has a breakthrough album, and that might be the one that everybody gets to hear about and know. But then you have a hardcore of fans who then keep following you, who know everything about you, who know even when the next album is going to come out before you yourself seem to know it, and then there are people who basically after that first album, it's not that they've switched off, but you are not really their primary artist that they like, right? So they just, if they bump into news about you here and there, then they may not really know about this. But if you come to our shows, you will see our audience. They know all these albums. Another I don't like to compare my albums because they're part of a continuum. They're part of something that is like it's something that you've woven together. We cannot separate them and say one. And they were not really made because I've never ever made music with commercial considerations in mind. It's always been about, I have something to say, put it in this album, put these songs together, get them out there, so, but in terms of popularity, I mean, some of them have been more popular than others. Some, so Fere was very big, Kilo Kilo. Then Irin Ajo from 2010, that was a very popular album too. Irin Ajo Omo, Seun To Se, has Kurumi. He has a lot of songs. Every election year, people start to talk about the Kurumi song again, then there was Soundbender from 2015. That was another very big album. You were a very popular album too. And then Huru Hara, the one that came out just 2021, that was that's still out there. So I would say it's not one album. It's it's a continuing story. So and the fans love all of them. I can't really say Jangbala Jubu Jangbala Jubu was the breakthrough, was the first one that most people knew. So
okay. Well, we can debate that, continuously, but maybe because that's my own favorite. Any days, I never songs there are solid. So, but you can, as an artist, I agree with you that sometimes you don't want to say one is better than the other or one is more better accepted. So that takes us to my second question. Many of us started troops, and then along the line, the Nigerian factor came in and then became difficult. In your earlier responses to Temitope, you mentioned when you had to play to 50 members of the audience, sometimes less, after going on a tour. And this now makes me to ask this question. Many Nigerian artists are today, with no modesty, some of the most popular on the continent. Talk about Burna Boy, talk about Naira Marley, talk about Wizkid, Thames, and the rest. Now, all these people enjoy global recognition. I want to ask you now. You'll be on the scene on the scene. Sometimes, for some of them, we are not even born then. Some of them were toddlers, and they, attend this global recognition. Burna Boy will be playing at UEFA Champions League and the rest. As this popularity of these younger people playing Afrobeats, have you been tempted at any time to say, I wish to switch from what my brand of music, to a music that will be globally,
so I can make big money.
Globally, make me, no, not just money now. Give you that recognition, if you are in Canada, you are in Jamaica.
No. No. For me as an artist, it doesn't work that way.
So what has been your mainstay then? What has sustained you from going that direction? Because with artists begin the way you began. And then at the point in time, I don't want to mention artists now, but we have them who began singing, a type of music, and then they found out that no, this is not working because, as you said, Nigeria is an environment where people, they want to make money, they want to live well. So if you have not been tempted, what is that thing, or what are those things that have kept you to say this is the brand of music I'm going to stick with?
Yeah, I've never been tempted because when I started out, I knew what I wanted to do right from the outset. I wanted to, like I said earlier when I was talking to them, I wanted to play music that will lift my people, that will embolden them, that will strengthen them, that will heal the people, that will show them the path to happiness and the path to strong communities. This is what I wanted to do. And I'm not the only one who tries to do these kind of things. All over the world, whether you go to the US, to Canada, to the UK, you will see artists who do this kind of stuff. They're not making money. It's not the primary motive. It's getting the message out. It's getting the music out there for an audience that will embrace it, that will really, really, really value it. I'm not, so I don't, like when they say, don't listen to the noise of the market. When you do this kind of thing, you don't listen to the noise of the market. You just go and do what you have to do. And there's an audience that's listening to you. There's a need there. There's an audience. So if you didn't have an audience, then maybe you will pack it up and say, okay, let me go and start selling mats or something in the market, But because it's an audience and it's a dedicated audience and they're always there, and you make enough, keep yourself going, to keep your band going, to keep your music going, and then you're not. I don't look at the pop music market. That's not what I'm into. And like I just said, in many countries, you will see, even say the US, that people want to go to the US and win Oscar, Grammy and Oscar and all those things. But even in the US, there are a lot of American artists who cannot do what I do, who you don't hear about that much, but they're there and they have huge followership. And when they go on tour, people come to watch them, but they're not pop artists. And so this is the kind of person I am.
Okay. Thank you so much. All right. Yeah, that takes me to another level, another question tied to the one I just asked now. You wake up in the morning and you find out that a particular artist has been endorsed by one brand. It's an advanced ambassador to one brand for 40 million, for 30 million, and you see them on billboards. You understand? Now, in your journey of over almost 3 decades now, have you been approached by any brand to say, we want to endorse you, we want you to be our face because of what you do? So if the answer is yes, then my rider, the rider will be, what is that brand and what is the value of the endorsement or the recognition?
Yeah, it's going to be a very simple one. The answer is no. The answer is no. Nobody's ever approached us for nobody's ever approached us for anything like that.
In over almost 30 years.
I can't recall anyone. I can't recall at any time anybody saying, "Oh, we wanted to be the face of." I mean, there have been small things, but not like big companies, right? Like big companies, no. There have been people who write and say, "We want you to come and do," like, and tell you they just want to. But these are not. You're talking about like big companies, the kind of people that we see, with other artists, with pop artists. No, we've never had that.
What does that tell you about the country?
Well, we can say maybe we have misplaced priorities and that, but those people who say a beer company, they just want to sell their beer, and they're going to use whoever they think the general masses, whoever they've been made to believe as the masses. So, right? So if they know there's a pop artist that all the kids are following, okay, they want the young people to drink. And all the young people seem to be vibing to this particular pop artist. That's where they're going to put their money. There's a perception, right? And so we can try to package ourselves to make ourselves attractive to them in that way too. But you see, it's going to be hard to convince them that you are going to draw that same crowd for them. It's going to be hard to convince them. So it just becomes a waste of energy in trying to. I mean, we've tried in the past. We have a festival that we run every year, and we've tried to go after some companies to give us sponsorship, and it's always been difficult because they just can't see it. Yeah, they just can't see it. I mean, I remember once I was at was it MBL? Is it MBL? I don't know if MBL or is MBPLC, whatever. I was there once, and I remember we had written our proposal. We spent quite a lot of an amount of money on that nice, colorful proposal. It was professionally done, and then they invited us to come and talk to them about this festival. And I went, and we had like an insider who was a fan, and he said, "You are meeting the marketing whatever director. This is the person who's going to take the decision. This is it." So we went there, and then the man said, "I'm sorry, but I don't know you." And I said, "Well, if you don't know me, at least maybe you will know my music." So right there in the boardroom, I got up and I started singing for him. And I sang Owuro Lojo, and he said he had never heard of that song. He said he had never heard it. And I sang him 7 Lives, which is a song that several generations of Nigerian youth have used now. I've been using for emboldenment, for strength, and he said, and this man was much younger than me. He said he had never had 7 Lives. So then I said, okay, well, I know, looking at you, you are a ladies' man. I'm sure you will know what you're feeling. He said he didn't know I sang it. He said he had never heard it. So he said, maybe if I don't know you, what about the other people who are going who are in the festival, the other artists? So we started going down the line. So I said, Chimishola Anke. He had never heard of Chimishola Anke. I said, Chris Ajilo. He had never heard of Chris Ajilo. Yinka Davis. He had never heard of Yinka Davis. So, so we left the place with nothing. We got nothing. So, I mean, that's the kind of thing. So you realize it's not just, the market is not the same. So, but it doesn't make me feel sad. It doesn't make me feel bad. Like I told you, I didn't come into this for endorsements. I didn't come into it for, what interests me is knowing that I have touched one life today, as my music touched one person today. And will that person become a disciple for the messages? That's what interests me.
Okay. Thank you so much. The next question along the same line. So if you have not gotten endorsements, if it's been difficult to get people to buy into your music, so what has been paying the bills?
This music has been paying the bills. We have so many albums out there. People buy them. People buy our albums. They buy our albums. In actual fact, you might find that some of the big names in the pop, in the pop business, their audience they listen to their music for free here and there. With my music, you have to pay to listen most of the time. The most money that we make now is coming from Apple Music, where people download. Our own kind of fans don't just stream. They want to own the music. It's a very personal. We have that kind of hardcore group of fans who insist on buying. Our fans are still buying CDs. Some of them are 19 years old. They're still buying CDs because they want to own it. They want to feel that, you know, and then you come to our shows. You come to our shows, you see them sometimes 500, 800, 1,000 people out there, and they've paid money and they spend money there. They buy my books, they buy our CDs, they buy our T-shirts, they buy other things that we're selling there. And so it's not, and if you know how to live within your means, I am what I preach. I am a work in progress. I'm not a finished work yet. But when I tell people to be truthful, I try to be as truthful as possible. I am a work in progress, and I try to do everything. So when I talk about contentment, I am the poster child of contentment. I learn to live within my means, and I'm always happy with whatever I have. I don't peep over the wall at what other people have. I don't. That's not my thing.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prof.
Now, you've come this far. This very deep philosophy, knowing what you want to do, and you have been consistent at it for, since the beginning up to now. So, which artist will you say influenced you? You know, your philosophy, your musical style and everything. Which artist has the greatest impact on you?
I think this will make Temitope Fagunwa happy now because this is one of his questions. So it's coming. Yeah. So when it comes to influences, I always say they are too numerous to count or to name. I got a gift. My big influence, my biggest influence, my biggest inspiration is the gift, and it's hard to explain it. I got a gift. For you to understand what I'm trying to say, you have to listen to my whole body of work. And I marvel at the volume that is there. I marvel myself, even though I made the music. I listen to the melodies, I listen to the arrangement, I listen to the words, and I say, but you did this? This came through you? So once you're able to study that body of work, then you start to realize, then you can understand when I say that the gift was the original inspiration. It's an original gift. And I've just used it over the years. My part in it is to own the gift, improve upon it, develop it, not allow myself to be influenced by whatever is the reigning sound or whatever is the popular sound, to stay within the original sound that is in my head. But you see, we cannot claim to just be original like that. We are a product of our own environment. We're a product of everything we say is from what we have heard, whether we know it consciously or not. Everything we write is a product of many things that we have read, whether we are aware of it consciously or not. And so I would say you cannot divorce what I'm doing now from the words of my grandmother. My mother was the first songwriter I knew, you know. So my mother's words, my grandmother's deep traditional words, and the people I wanted to be like at the beginning. You know, when you are in Ibadan, there are these people who go out at the weekend with Dundu and Shekere. And as a child, I thought this was the height of music. I thought, as a child, I really thought this was it. And so if I was listening to my earliest influences, these are the people that I wanted to sound like. In actual fact, when you listen to Wuro Ojo, when you hear the guitar at the beginning of it, that's from my earliest influence. So this is where, and the things that I heard growing up on TV, on radio, all the people, we were blessed for my generation that we had, all those dramatists coming on TV to showcase their work. They were amazing people. I still remember that after watching Onyadejobi's show, is it Kuroloja? Which one? The drama. I think it's the one that had Anre Gbo Daju, Anre Gbo Shika, Nibi Gunugun Gbe Yoju Omo Lomo, Nibi Akalama Gbogbo Yoju Ore. Yeah. See, as a child, I watched that and I thought, I'm going to do my own. I want to do my own. See, so these are the things. So I cannot say, oh, this person influenced me, but I know that it's impossible for me to do what I'm doing now if those people hadn't done all those things. We are standing on the shoulders of all those people to do what we do now. Or for example, someone like Baba Ifeanyi Elebuibon, who had his IFA program, on TV in those days, and that gave us an insight into a traditional way of knowing, a spiritual traditional way of knowing, and then of course I would think of people like people, all the other musicians. I've listened to a lot of musicians my whole life, musicians from A to Z. Any kind of music from genre, I've listened to it. I love music with a passion. I listen to everything, and sometimes when you think about what we do now, you think about the movement in the 70s, people trying to do like Afro folk, Afro rock, Afro jazz, Afro this and that, all those people. Because they did it, it told us that we could do it this way too. Because somebody sang in a mixture of Yoruba and English, it made you think, oh, I can do it too. Right? It's not, so it means I can do it too. I can do this in a way that maybe I've done it in a way that is actually more efficient than all those people. But if they hadn't done what they did, maybe we wouldn't have been able to do what we are doing now. And so that's my influences they're large like that.
But it's interesting that you didn't mention Fela.
He's one of many. He's one of many. I wasn't really a fan of Fela's music I was a fan of Fela as a person who put his shirt like that and spoke against authority. That's what I liked. I wasn't really. Many Nigerians lied to themselves. In those days, how many people were Fela's fans? They were all listening to Fuji or Juju, to Ebenezer Obey and Sonny Ade. Who was listening to? How many albums was Fela selling? My father owned the music store. We sold Fela's album. We struggled to sell them. But Nigerians, once the white man said Fela is great, they all say Fela is great now, and they're all following. And because the West, once the West said, this man is your greatest musician, they're all saying he's their greatest. But how many of them actually? Even now, how much of his music is played on radio? How many people can actually stand Fela's music? Because Nigerians don't like a lot of that instrumental stuff, right? In my music, they complain, Nubia, I just heard your new album. One of them, you didn't even say a word. You just play instrument. They still say it up to now. They wanted to say words, right? And so I like to cut through people's hypocrisy. That whole. I liked Fela. I liked some of his stuff. I told you, I love music generally. But what I loved Fela for, at a point I was called Young Fela self. When I was a kid. Because Fela to us at that time represented a sense of freedom, to be free, to speak truth to power. And so that's, for me, that's more like what I liked about him, not just the music, but there are people whose music that I liked a lot, like someone like Tunju Ilano. Tunju Ilano, or someone like, I talked about Johnny Astrop. He didn't make a lot, but there were a few songs that he made that I liked. I loved the Ligado Sisters. I love those. Yes, I mean, there were groups like that. Osibisa, and of course a lot of other people from outside Nigeria. I've always been what you call, I'm a sponge. When it comes to music, I just take it all in. So, but I cannot tell you. I've never been mentored by anybody. I've never studied music under anybody. I've just always done my own thing. So.
Okay. Very quick one. Now you mentioned YouTube and other platforms where your music is selling. Does it not? I mean, what would you say to the fact that we do not have an indigenous African platform where artists can show? I mean, can put their work, and then where people can reach them? Because we look at all these platforms, even our movies. movies on either on Netflix,
Netflix,
on Amazon and the rest. Now the same way is the way music is going, which means that the IP of this of these works will belong to them forever. And I think that was one thing that Fela was trying to fight against. What Michael Jackson was trying to fight against, where everything is owned by Sony. Are we not going to the same era now, where all our artistic creativity, creations, are housed in the West? What's your response to that?
Well, I'm aware that a lot of people have been making efforts to create platforms that are more local, so to say. People are trying it. People have been doing it. There's a lot of, so hopefully with time, somebody will get that right. I don't, the things I'm not an expert on, when it comes to my music, I'm an expert on that. When it comes to certain things, I say I'm an expert. When it comes to things like this, I get involved. I've been involved in a few efforts actually to set up things like this. So I know there are a lot of people who are better at this, who are working hard to see that this happens. So we'll see what happens, with time. But at least the thing, what we have right now is, if we didn't have these digital platforms, and if we didn't have social media, the reach that people like me have as an independent wouldn't have it. So in a way, these platforms and social media have been, in a way, a blessing to us too, because it's given us a chance to reach wider people without having the backing. We don't have the money backing, we don't have the power backing, we don't have all that, so. But I'm sure with time, more people are working on this.
Okay. Finally, from me, we have a sort of a revolution now, in quotes, of a new generation of Nigerians that we refer to as Gen Z. Now, they are forced to be reckoned with. So I want to ask, how do you think this generation, the Gen Z, are connecting with your music? And if so, do you think your music has the potential to mold them into, better people, which is your primary goal?
Thank you very much for that question, because yes, if you come to our show now, 70% is all these people you're talking about. 70% of the people at my shows now will be people, maybe even up to 80%. They're just young people. And to them, I am Baba. So, and I talk, and we talk. And if you go on Twitter, you see them always talk about it. At my shows, it's not just singing. There's a lot of talking, educating, and not the kind of talking where we are abusing ourselves, where they're abusing me and I'm speaking back, not like us just talking. No, not that kind of, it's me talking. And sometimes I have to put my foot down and say, when I'm on this stage, this is like my office, please respect it. I've come to share this wisdom with you. If you have any questions, you can ask afterwards. But here, and it's a wonderful, wonderful thing to have that kind of audience. It's totally amazing to see them come out like that. I don't know how to explain it. As an artist, there's a joy you feel knowing that the children whose mothers and fathers bought Jangbala to go and play it at home, the children that I played to at high schools and universities 10, 15 years ago are now coming to these shows. They now have the means to pay, to buy things. And they're the ones who are buying the books and buying, all these things. And it's just an amazing, and the way they take me, it's not the way people of my generation take me. People of my generation have their own heroes. To these young people, I am their hero. I'm their childhood hero. And I think as an artist, it's a position of great responsibility. They're watching me, I'm watching them. And I'm always telling them, I'm watching you as you go. Everything we have said here, go practice it. And they will say, yes, Baba, we are watching you too. So we are watching ourselves. So, but it's they are the ones who come to our shows, and I can see the changes. The man I told you earlier on that put a frame in his room is a young man. Yeah. And so these are the people that I talk to all the time now. In actual fact, at a point, I was a little bit concerned that we weren't getting the older people as much anymore. But the people around me said, because my concern was, do we need to go back to sending email texts to him? Because a lot of these people maybe are not on social media, and they were like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. We are the young people. We have the energy. This energy is great. So we're doing quite well, and it's a joy to always go out and play. Joy.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you, sir.
That was my last question.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to seeing again at your show.
I look forward to seeing you there. You'll be one of the few older people. You'll be the minority.
We'll be together then. So for us then. So that's fine. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. That was wonderful. We have been taken through an exploration of beautiful Nubia's artistic trajectory and artistic vision, the relationship between his message and the lay of money, and how he embodies values within these tensions. Thanks, Professor Tunji Aziz, for inspiring this journey through beautiful Nubia's mental and professional landscape, taking us from history to the present. Now, could we have the privilege of having Banin Air engage with our illustrious guests? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's an honor and a pleasure to be part of this discussion. Nice to see you. Beautiful.
Thanks, Banin. Thank you.
So just a little background. I work with this national radio program in the US called Afropop Worldwide. And we've been on the air since 1988, so we're in our 35th year. And one of the original inspirations for the program was King Sunny Ade and his early tours here. So Nigeria has been in the mix for a long time. I only actually went there myself for the first time in 2017. We spent a month there and did a lot of research in Lagos, you know, with Juju and Fuji musicians, and covering the explosion of Afro beats that was all around us there. And we also went to Port Harcourt and did some research about Rex Lawson and the war and that whole history. And then we went up to Kano and sampled the music of the film industry there and the whole issue of hip hop and censorship. It was very fascinating. And near the end of the trip, I was back in Lagos and in the Jazz Hole, in a venue I'm sure you all know well, and speaking with Kunle Tejuosho, and I said to him, well, you know, who are artists that are really sort of bucking the trend and singing conscious music? And he said, well, you need to talk to beautiful Nubia. And it just happened that, I think it might have been the very last night or one of the last nights we were there, you were having a show in this very interesting venue. And I experienced what you've been talking about, your relationship with your audience, your you know, the merchandise that people were buying. And it was a very unique experience. I was very impressed, and we did a very nice interview. And then it turned out by coincidence that where you live when you're in Canada is just a few blocks from where my sister lives and where we go for Christmas. So we had a couple of nice visits there, and I got to meet your beautiful family. And I came away from all this with a very large collection of your CDs. But let me start. I want to talk more about your musical life, and let's just start by the most recent CD, which is dedicated to Olusegun Helen Olumiyiwa.
Yes.
And who is she? And why did you make a CD dedicated to her?
This CD has all our pictures everywhere. Eh? Well, my mother was the first songwriter that I knew. She, like I said earlier, our ancestors on one hand were, on one side, were Ifa priests. On the other, they were Eshu devotees. And then our own mother became a Muslim, very devout Muslim. And I lived with that woman, my grandmother. And then, but my mother, because our father was a Christian anyway, she became a Christian, and very hardcore Christian. So as a child, I remember at church, when she would take us to church, they would be doing this plays. And it's, I'll say, very small. But somehow, my mother had a hand somewhere. She was directing the plays. And I wondered why she had this key role. So one day I was going through, because she used to have this candy. My mother had this, she, you know, and she would keep, and she knew I like to steal her things. So she would hide the sweets all over the place. So one day I was kind of rummaging through her wardrobe trying to find the sweets. And I found this book, this notebook folded up. And I opened it, and there I could see plays. So I started realizing, okay, this is the play they performed at the church festival 2 weeks ago. Okay, so she wrote it. And then I started seeing songs that the choir had performed as special numbers at the festival. She had written them. So that's the first time it came into my consciousness that, okay, somebody writes plays, and somebody writes songs, something called a songwriter. And I asked her about it, and she said she wrote these things. Okay, but she never really sought any personal glory with it. She didn't want people to give her credit. So the church never said, oh, the song we're singing today is written by this woman. No, they never said that. In actual fact, some of those songs, people took them and recorded them, because that's the nature of the gospel music in Nigeria. People go to a church, they hear an original song, they go and record it, and they become known for it. So she was, as a child, my mother was everything. She was everything. She was the center of my world. In actual fact, to get me to go to school was a big job, because I didn't want to go to school. I didn't want to leave my mother's sphere of influence. I wanted to be around her. We were very, very close. And she sang all the time. My mother, if you saw her and the church was like a stage. The church was where she performed, not at home. At home, my mother was always mother or my father's wife. She was always, but at church, I mean, sometimes when in the later years, when she had my parents had broken up, and I would want to go visit her or find her, and I'll be going towards the church. And if I wanted to know if my mother was there, I just had to listen to the singing. I'm talking about from a long distance away. And you could hear my mother's voice be right on top. That thin voice, that cute, beautiful soprano is just there on top. And she could sing. My mother could sing and dance. The dancer, and she could pray. She could she could pray from now till tomorrow. So coming from that kind of thing, when I started writing songs and singing, she never ever said, "Why are you doing this?" But it was when I became famous for it that then sometimes she would just ask me, "Where are you even from, this child? Where are you from? Where did you learn all these words they're putting in this song? Where are you learning these words? Who taught you all these words?" I don't know. I got it from you, I guess. So my mother, she passed on last year, April. It's almost a year now. April 4 last year, she passed on. So I thought, what's a good way to celebrate her life? So, but I had these songs that I was going to record, because I haven't talked about my process of recording, but I had these songs I wanted to record. And at some point, I just decided, this next album, I'm going to dedicate it to her. But I wasn't thinking at the time I was going to put her picture everywhere. That came later. I just thought it would just be there dedicated to my mother. And then as the story kept going, I just thought, what, I'm just going to do an album because I'm an independent artist. I'm using my money to produce this work anyway. I can do what I like. I'm just going to put her picture everywhere. So that's what happened. That's what I've done.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Let me ask you, a question about your process. I mean, you've been so productive, so many songs. How do you write a song? Does it start with a theme or with a phrase or some traditional source of poetry or aphorism, or is it a musical thing? Or maybe it happens all those ways. How do you write songs?
Yeah, it happens in all the ways you've just mentioned, but the one that's most common is a song just comes to me, and it comes with everything. A song like Seven Lives, I've told this story so many times, and often I don't know if people believe me. A song like Seven Lives, I wrote that song in 1989. I was a student at the University of Ibadan, and I was walking from the university gate. I mean, from my hall, Melambi Hall, to the university gate. Now, those who know University of Ibadan, that's a maybe 25-minute walk. It was a nice, quiet evening. The wind was blowing. There was a nice breeze, and there were brown leaves. And I still remember it, the brown leaves kind of floating in the air. And I just had, there was just this da 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 da, and I'm just repeating it. And then the words started coming. In my journey through the world and over land and over sea. I thought, oh, okay, this sounds nice, sounds nice. So I kept repeating it. And then I ran to my room and I wrote it down. And do you know, as I was writing it, I started hearing the ons. I started hearing the bass line that I wanted to put there. And because I can't write Western style notation, I wrote it in my own way. I have my own code for writing this thing. So I wrote it down. I still have the book, my song books. So I wrote it down, and so there are songs like that that just come fully formed, which is that's the magic. That's the one I really love. That's the one that I really, that's one where I feel that maybe there's a spiritual thing to this. Maybe there's a goddess of music who has chosen me, you know. You know. So, but then sometimes it's just the music that's in my head, and it just repeats and repeats and repeats. And then one day I sit down and I put words to it. And that happens. What made it easier for me for the last 20 years is that then in 1986, I got a cassette recorder, a gift from a friend, and I was able to start putting them down. So if I got da 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 da, then I sing it, and then at some point I'll add words to it. That happens quite often. Sometimes I'm too lazy to find words, or I just like the music, so I just release it as an instrumental. You know, sometimes I've done that. You know, some of our albums you find one track or two where it's just all instruments, because I just don't want to put words. I just say I'm going to release it this way. You know, then there are times when I write a poem, like in Atunluto, the album that came out in 2018. I'm getting in that was there's a song that goes it's a song that I wrote on. No, the one before this. Oh, the one after that.
Oh, okay. This one?
No, the one before this one, yeah.
All right.
So it's the one in between those two.
Here
yeah.
Somewhere.
Just ask my picture, just my picture on it. So Atunluto was there's a song there where I was thinking about seeing the world outside and how it's open for me to just walk into it. And that's a poem that I wrote when I turned 30. I was in a hotel in Kaduna in northern Nigeria, and I was just tired and depressed. I mean, your birthday. I was 30 years old. I was just not happy that I hadn't released my first album. I wasn't happy that I wasn't doing music. I wasn't playing music. I was working as a vet, and of course I was making money, but I wasn't happy that I wasn't using my talent. So that day I wrote that poem, and many years later I put it to music. I added music to it, and so and then sometimes it's just me walking on the street. I see something, and I go home. I feel it in my soul, and it becomes a song. Like when I was driving one day in Lagos, and there was a young man standing by. I think it was an electric pole, and he's just standing there, looking tired, but in his eyes was a lot of fire. And I thought, and it just came to my head. This young man standing, he knows where the shoe is pinching him. He can't do anything about it today, but one day the tables will turn. See, it came into my head. And so it became, I got home, took my guitar. And of course, the day I learned how to play guitar was the day that my songwriting went to another level, because then this became my favorite instrument to help me figure out how. So then I sat there and I was like, the young man standing laughing, but he knows where the shoe did. So, and then it became a song. And so these are different ways, which the one that I do not really like, which has actually gotten me hit songs, some of my biggest hits, is the one where people ask me to write a song for them. I do not like that at all. And that's come, you know, because that's not what I do. People think because you say you're a songwriter that you can just say write on demand, like write for me. I can't, it's not what I do. So I remember Olusegun, which is the wake up, the how do you do song, which is like the good morning song, which is very popular, one of our most popular songs. Somebody on radio asked me for a song to wake people up in Lagos. And he said, write the song in Yoruba and one in English so that we can use them to wake people up in Lagos. So I went home and I wrote, good morning, sweet Lagos, something like that. And then I wrote in Yoruba. But when I was going to record Jangbala Jugu in 2002, I decided to merge the two songs and they became the one song that is so popular now. And so even though I didn't like the process, I didn't like the person asking me to, I did write it eventually. I produced the work and the song became a hit. And then lightning struck again a few years later, in 2006, a gentleman that some people here will know. In fact, most of us here will probably know, named Tunde Kelani. He's a filmmaker. He's a very famous, highly accomplished, leading Nigerian filmmaker. And he called and said, I have this movie that I'm working on and I want you to write a song. So he gave me the synopsis. And I remember just going home that day, so angry because I thought, here is a man who is highly accomplished as a filmmaker. He's thinking that I'm this highly accomplished songwriter. He's put me on this. I don't like, how am I going to write a song that's going to be good enough for him? It took me weeks, but eventually I went back to my songbooks, and I do have a lot of those songbooks, songs that I wrote from, say, 1980 to date. I have all those songs, you know, number 1, number 2, number 420, number like. So I went back to that book and started flipping through, looking for inspiration. And one of the oldest melodies, a melody I had written in 1978 or 79. Wow. I found it there. Yeah, I was a child, and I found it there. Da, 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 da. So I made the song, but I wasn't sure it was going to be good. So I gave it to him, and he was just like totally, you know, shocked. And later he said later, you know, at a public forum, that it was the first time he had given somebody a job to produce theme music for his movie without the movie having been finished, right? So I didn't get to watch the finished movie. All I got was the what do you call it now? The synopsis. I just got like a sheet of a 1 page. I got a 1-pager, and he said, "This is the first time that I've given somebody just." And then he goes and writes some music that seems to have been made for every part of that movie. And my head was swelling like, yeah, I did it, but please don't come again. You know, because I don't like to do that, you know. So, but that song, Ukwakufo, Lamentation for a Broken Pot, became another massive hit. If I start that song at a concert today, everybody goes crazy. So these are the processes how I write songs.
Fascinating. Now, is that because the movie itself became popular, or that everyone knows that song? Was the movie?
Well, the song took on a life of its own.
Okay.
Because I then put the song on my album Fere, which came out in 2006, and then Mr. Kelani and his crew made me a video with bits and pieces from the movie.
Okay.
And then the song that just blew up the song, and so the song just became so huge. Yeah, like so huge. And so I mean, this is how all the processes I use to write songs. But like I said, I still prefer the one where
it just comes.
Just comes. Yeah.
Yeah. What about traditional sources? I mean, I know you're obviously a literary person. I've read your books, and you're a very good writer. And
thank you.
but obviously you're very aware of a lot of the literary past Yoruba poetry and that. Do you ever take something that's basically whole from some, traditional literary source and turn that into a song? Is that ever something you do?
I think, yes, I've done that. Not as much, not a lot, but I've done that a few times. I mean, Jangbala Jubu, the title track of that, the album that became our first breakthrough album. It's a traditional song. It's a traditional work song, actually. So in the old days, when people would go to work together, like, in those communities, say, for example, you want to build a house, people will help you to build it. They will, you all come together and build the roof and build what. And when they're doing this work, they'll be singing songs to keep them going. And one of them was this song, Ebang Bondo Yibe Jangbala Jubu, Jubu, Jubu Jangbala. Just like, come help me kind of gather this water or whatever, And it's just the Jubu Jubu is just the sound, like the goggle sound that, like, it's onomatopoeic, right? It's like the sound that water makes when you try to take it from one, say, you're gathering the water with a pot into another pot or something. That's just the sound. And but that's the old song. That's the old song. It's a one-line or two-line song. Yeah, it's one line. The refrain is Jangbala Jubu 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 Jangbala. That's it. What I did, and I've done that several times, what I did was then extend the song. Then it becomes a proper, I don't know, 2-3 stanza song. Then so I've added words to it, I've extended it, which is, I think, how it used to be in old Africa, which is how. So you don't just say, I am the songwriter, I have done it, the work is done. I think in a lot of the artistic practices in those days was you brought one line and then it became something, and then somebody will come along and add a second line. And I always like to think this is what we mean when we say folk music. It's the people's music. We can all add to it. we can all sing it. We can all be part of it. So, and I've done that with another song. What's Abuke Oshi in one of the or in Sandbender. So I've done that a few times where I take a song that's like from our Yoruba folk tales, or and then I add more and I create music around it, and I twist the words, I bend the words here and there. So I've done that. But the other thing is, am I borrowing from tradition, even just ideas, even just tendencies, ideas? Yes, maybe not consciously, but I do know that. For example, in our recent Olumuyiwa album, there's a song that's called Eni Sungbalaja. It's a track, is it 14? Track 14. He's the one that has the kind of guitar thing, like a little
it's nice. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So, but anybody hearing that will think that I've taken this from the Ifa Coppers, that I've taken this from the but because there I'm basically mimicking when they will say, so said the oracle to this person who came to ask for solutions to his problem. The oracle said, go and do this and do that and do that. And so I've used that kind of pattern to write that song, saying, I'm trying to remember, just to remember the words so I can say it properly. The head makes pleadings for the head. The head has made some sacrifices or whatever for the head. The hand does the same thing for the hand. Which is what the oracle said to he who slept soundly. And it was from Balaja, he who soundly slept, who's looking for understanding, to understand life. Where is the, what is the whatever for the roaring river or whatever, so it's asking questions about life. He wants to understand what its purpose is. So, but I've tried to use that the traditional poetry style of Ifa to do that. So I do adopt all those things. I use them.
Well, with all those methods, I guess that helps explain how you're so prolific. So many songs. Let me ask you about your band, the Roots Renaissance Band. I know that the history of live bands in Lagos is a complicated storied affair, and now I mean, from what I understand, they're sort of coming back into fashion a bit, but it's very difficult and to put on shows with a live band like that. As I said, I was very happy and privileged to see your band live. It was one of the few real live bands that we saw during that time. You know, a lot of the performances now are not like that. But you live in two places between Canada and Nigeria. What are the challenges and how do you go about maintaining a band like that in Lagos with the life you have?
I always feel for my band members because I know that it's possible to think if this man was sitting around there, then we could play more often. But I always ask, what would we play? Weddings, birthday parties, child naming ceremonies? You know, but that is not what, I mean, if you pay me well, you have to pay me really, really well. I do those things, I've done them, but you have to pay me really, really well because I'm not a wedding musician. I'm not a wedding musician. I'm not, you know, and I remember a few years ago, one of a gentleman who's a lawyer, he was actually one of Fela Kuti's lawyers, young lawyers in those days, and he wanted us to play at his the burial ceremony of his one of his parents. I can't remember if it's his mom or his. So anyway, and I when he called me, I was like, "Are you sure?" He said, "Yeah, I want you to go." I said, "What am I going to sing there?" He said, "Your songs." I said, "You want me to come and sing The Young Man Standing Laughing?" He said, "Yes, the songs, your song. I want you to come and sing those songs. I don't care if people don't dance. I don't care if they don't like it. I'm the one contracting you. Come and sing your songs there, like a proper concert." So we went there and we sang. Of course, I had to adapt. Because I knew, even though he had said that, you get, and it was like one of the interland, you know, like a town. They will not understand. They will just be saying, "What kind of nonsense has this man brought here now?" So of course, I had I had some of my band members kind of sing some of the popular, you know, songs, and then I came on and did our normal standards, and then we closed with some dance music and stuff. But it's not what I like to do. I did that for him as a favor, and I don't typically like to do those things. So even if I was in one place 100% and we were together, we'll still just be doing our concerts and still, you know, this is what I like to do. I want to do formal concerts where people come, you know, and they listen to us. We intentionally don't provide tables at our shows because I don't want people sitting down and drinking and eating and making me secondary. When I come to play, the music is primary.
Yeah.
That I demand that and I expect it. And I'm always threatening my audience. And people laugh at me when I say, you know, maybe I won't do it anymore. And then people are like, no, you have to keep doing it. And then my band members will be there. We dare you. Because because I mean, we've been together. Some of them have been with me now for 20 years plus. And I think they understand what we do. And the fact that they're all, the good thing is that they don't just play with me. They play in other places. Many of them play in churches. Some of them actually have other jobs. We have someone who works with the state government. Some of them are teachers, music teachers. So they have other things that they do, you know, to make money. So, so when we come together, this is special now.
Yeah.
Because this is where one of them told me one day, he said, "Doctor, when I come to play with you, this is where I feel like a human being. On stage,
Nice.
I'm respected." Yes, because when we go on stage, it's like the love and the adoration and the respect we get from the audience. It's amazing. And
it is.
And the way they respect you, like you're not just a musician playing guitar. No, they respect us as if, you know. And so I think my band members value that.
Yeah.
And so they see that, okay, so this is the value. And so we work together as a band of brothers. Sometimes we have sisters, you know, and so far it's worked well.
So how many shows like that, like the one I saw, do you do in a typical year?
Sometimes up to 12.
Okay.
Sometimes more than that. Sometimes less. It depends on how much, you know, sometimes less, you know. So, but also depends on if we get venues. The venue you saw us playing at, that was given to us kindly by one of our fans, you know. So because the kind of music we're playing with no financial backing is difficult to put it together. The cost of venues has gone up so much, and venues no longer want to partner with you.
Right.
Because they say they are not making any money from it. They don't make money from it. So they want you to pay upfront. And in a place like Lagos, it's so the people who are having all these social events like weddings and stuff, they've jacked up the prices of all these places, right? So the event centers, of course, they want weddings, they want churches to rent them for, they don't want some poor musician. So sometimes we can't have as many shows because we can't find the venues to work with.
Yeah.
People are always, if I put up a show now, like now we're supposed to do some shows in April in Lagos and Ibadan. And, you know, every time we put it online, people are asking, what about Abeokuta? What about Ilesha? What about Ilorin? What about Kano? What about Abuja? I'm like, yeah, but who's going to fund it? Who's going to pay for it? Where are the promoters, right? Where are the promoters who are thinking we can do this? You know, we don't have that. I mean, I became very good friends with some of the people who had worked as musicians in Nigeria in the 50s and 60s, people like Chris Agilo and Dr. Orlando Julius, you know, Ekemode, all those people, and they will tell me how in the 50s and 60s, and even the early 70s, they could plan tours.
Sure.
And they used to do all these things, and there were promoters who would go, some of them, of course, cheated them, but they will go with posters and get everything ready, and you're on the road, but we can't really do that. And I have to do everything myself now. I have to write the songs, I have to arrange them, I have to produce them, I have to package them, I have to market them, I have to organize my own shows. People think, and some people accuse me of trying to do it all by myself. They say that's why you haven't gotten as much traction. And I say, I'm not trying to do it. If I can find somebody who wants to do it. At some point, it became almost like I had to be singing and shooting my own videos, because the guys that we call to come and shoot videos for us were asking for such big amounts that we couldn't afford. So eventually I started luckily I started finding all these young people, because now I'm lucky that I have a lot of young people around me who grew up on our music, who then think it's an honor to work with me. And so now they're there doing all these videos, and so it's a bit easier, but finding venues is still a problem. So if we could find the venues, we'll be playing a lot. That's why I said some years we play more than 20 shows. We play lots and lots because we're going to schools, we're going to the interland, you know. Sometimes it's because what I do is, if I get a big gig that pays a lot of money, then I spread the money out on all this. If I get big money today, you know that next thing you know, I'll be announcing a show in Abuja and a show in this, and people don't understand what's going on, because then I've got the money to pay for the halls. So sometimes that's why I take these wedding shows. Sometimes that's why I take them, so I get the money, so I can then do these other things.
No, it's very interesting. No, thanks for that. I can understand all of those challenges. I'm very impressed with the way that you maneuver all of that. Some of the questions I prepared are things that have already been talked about. So I want to go back to a couple of things that were mentioned earlier and just hear a little more about them. First, religion. You said before that you're not part of any organized religion. Obviously, you're singing to a country where religion is taken very seriously on all sides. Is that ever an obstacle, the fact that you don't identify, or is it an advantage that you don't? I mean, how do you, as an artist, deal with those intense feelings from people who are, you know, committed to one religion or another?
I think what you will find that will amaze you is, actually, if you go on YouTube, you can see all our videos, and you will see people there who are covered from head to toe, Muslim sisters, and you will see Christians with the really born again hardcore Christians. You see them. Then you will see the people who come sometimes bedecked in things that suggest they're in one of our traditional religions. So you see all those, you see everybody there, and they are dancing. You know, the funny thing is, they are dancing together. They are together, holding hands and talking, and our venue is a safe place where you can do that. Because when I say I don't subscribe to any organized religion, there's a second part to it, and I've been saying it for years. But everyone, I always say that, but everyone is welcome in my world. Because I have never been anti-religion. I think religion, like any other thing, can be used for good or can be used for evil. And if we choose to use it to destroy our people, well, that's what we've done with ourselves. Religion can be a very powerful force. Music is religion. If you music is a religion too. You know, people just don't want to see these things for what they are. And Nigerians don't want to accept their own blame for the failure of that society, you know. And I've been thinking about that for a long time, that until we come to accept that we are part, every one of us is a part of the reason why the society has failed or is failing. And that if we start to fix things, then we can get ourselves. I mean, you come to my show and I don't take sides. I am the artist who is the voice of everybody, which in the traditional setting, whether I can talk about the Yoruba traditional setting. Maybe I can't speak for other African groups, but in Yoruba traditional setting, the artist is the voice of everybody. You cannot throw anybody, even the person that the society has said we don't want him. You cannot throw him away because it's not beyond redemption. The artist is the one who brings the whole community together, who's able to give us a chance to talk to ourselves, to find common ground for growth and development. And so for growth and development, we need the Muslims, we need the Christians, we need the traditional believers, we need the ones who don't believe anything. We need every gender, we need every sexual orientation, we need every point of view, we need the young, we need the old, we need everybody. Everybody should be accepted, everybody should be welcome there. And that is what I am stylishly trying to teach my audience, to get them to the point where we can start to see beyond face, beyond faith, beyond gender, beyond color, to see the human in all of us, to see how in embracing these hypocrisies and bigotry, we are doing ourselves a huge disservice, and we are creating a bad world and a negative world for our children. What is the purpose? I always say, what's the purpose of our life? I think the purpose of our life is to ensure that this place, we leave it better than we met it. Leave it a better place for those coming after us. So, and how do we do that? How do we do that? By ensuring that every voice is welcome, everyone is allowed to express themselves, and we can find somehow. It is not impossible to find common ground. There are people in Nigeria who will tell me the only way Nigeria can go forward is if we break it apart into the ethnic groups. And I always say, well, but when you break it down to Yoruba, the Yoruba will fight amongst themselves. They've always been fighting amongst themselves anyway. And if you break it down to each town, people will fight based on villages. You always have to find compromise. You always have to find that common ground. However you put societies together, and so with our music, which is not, you could call it non-aligned. With our music, it gives everybody a place where they can come and be free. Everybody's welcome.
That's great. That's great. I'm almost out of time here, but I just want to touch on one more thing that I found so interesting. You said you talked about how you like to cut through other people's illusions and hypocrisies, and you went right for your mixed feelings about Falola and his music, which I thought, that's almost like blasphemy and a lot of, because our people like to say, oh, we all love Falola, but when he was there, how many of them really loved him? How much time? I think that's so interesting. And then you talked about how the West embraces Falola, and so he becomes this huge.
Is the same way anything in Nigeria is. Everybody will tell you, oh, Wole Soyinka is such a great writer. Ask them how many books of Wole Soyinka have they read.
Okay.
But because the West has given him a Nobel Prize, because the West has celebrated him, they all carry it. We don't create our own heroes. This is part of the issue, that we need to start to reflect on ourselves, examine ourselves. We need to start creating our own heroes. Embrace the people who are doing good things in our society. Embrace them and hold them up and support them. They don't support anything. Who's supporting my music there? Who's supporting us? Everybody's just doing lip service to it. Oh, we like your music, but nobody supports. I've just said it on this show now that I can't find venues. You think after this program, somebody will say, I have a venue in Abuja for you. No, it rarely ever happens, because we don't. But you know what? I'll tell you something, Banning. According to the way we expect things to be, you are older than me. I expect you to die before me. But
Probably.
it happens sometimes that maybe I will die before you. If I die before you, you will find out that beautiful Nubia will be so huge. The Nigerians now will start carrying it. They will start talking about how, but now when you are alive, we don't celebrate our own people. We don't hold them. But if somebody in the US today gives beautiful Nubia a big award and says, this is the greatest living Nigerian musician, every Nigerian will start to say it.
Well, I wish we could do that, actually. We're not quite big enough to have that impact.
So this is the thing that about. So when I say that about Fela, I'm just trying to say this is, I'm not diminishing his legacy in any way.
No,
I'm just trying to talk to our people about how we do things, that because I remember even as a child, and I wrote it in my book, many adults where I grew up thought it was a never do well. They thought it was some thug who smoked marijuana and was leading young people. They didn't celebrate or respect his music. So, but now all of us will be like, yeah. So I do think that we need to shed a lot of things, our religious bigotry, hypocrisy on many things, and our sense of thinking we know everything. That because we all talk as experts, and I know they say, well, you are talking too. Okay, then all of us should keep quiet, maybe. But there's a place for listening. There's a place for reflection. We don't always have to be the experts. You can be an expert if you're an engineer. You know about hydraulics, but you can't also be the expert on music. And I get people coming to me every day advising me on this music. And I'm like, what do you do? You're a dentist. How can you know about music? Have you produced one song before? Have you marketed a song before? How do you know how I should be doing it? What I need is you to support this music.
Yeah. Well, my time is up here, but it's really a pleasure to talk with you again. I'm glad to know that you have young people who view you as a hero, because I think it's very appropriate. And it's really, it's an honor to know you. And I have to thank Professor Falola for including me in this discussion, which has really been fascinating. And well, I look forward to the next chapter. And,
thank you very much, Banin. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Banin and beautiful Nubia, for that most engaging session in which we're able to enjoy insight into your inspirational foundations and processes, your mental gyrations, if I could use that word, as you receive new ideas and construct new beauties, and how your environment has shaped your creativity, and that majestic image of your mother's influence and the far-reaching power of her voice, even from a distance. And you've also shared with us your vision of your music as harmonizing, how it integrates, moves beyond gender and ideology to help us to see our common humanity as we gradually mature into developing an African cultural independence. So, having mapped this wonderful world of ideas, which our three interviewers have enabled us to engage in, we now throw the floor open to members of the audience. Oh, sorry. Before that, we shall call upon Professor Falola, the organizer of this initiative, to give thanks. Then we shall move to members of the audience.
I will close with that. I will close with the thank you, not now.
Okay. So thanks, Prof, for allowing the members of the audience to come before you. Now I will call, I've taken note of all those hands I raised up. So on my screen, I'll take it in moving in a clockwise motion, and I will let you know when I'm ready. So could we please have Akintunde Oladipo? Are you ready?
Unmute. All right, can you hear me? All right. Yes, Akintunde.
Very good. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm excited to be here. I think I'm one of those young people you mentioned that I grew up listening to Owuro Olojo. And, you know, I grew up one day and, you know, it was stuck in my head. I'm like that, who sang this song? Right. And then I went on Apple Music and I was delighted to find that, you know, all of your albums were there. So I've listened to all your albums. And, you know, I probably know them just as well as you, to be honest. I think I disagree with some of the things that you say, but that is fine. For example, I think you write great love songs.
Thank you.
Right. So it's surprising that, you know, you don't play weddings, you don't like to play it. What I like best about your love songs is that the way that you don't just say like I love you, you express the love in terms of doing ordinary things, right? For example, in Mura Ode, right? In Mura Ode, you talk about, you know, just getting ready for the day together, getting started, you know, doing what we have to do. And the way that you invite your lover to join you in this very, I want to say, ordinary activity, right? It's a unique perspective on love that is sometimes missing, right, in Nigerian music, right? But also on Alashela, which is on Atunluto also, right? Yes. The way that you coax your lover, you know, it's very nice, right? So I find it very interesting when you say, because I think you write some of the best love songs currently.
Thank you.
That we have.
Okay, sorry.
I'm curious about one thing, right? Are we ever going to see collaborations, right? Okay. Because I can think of a couple of people for whom I think it'd be interesting to see what might come of a collaboration with you yourself and with your band, right? For example, Brimo is somebody who is very interesting. He definitely has a different take of music than you do. But both of you are people that have shown like the willingness to evolve from album to album, right? While staying true to what makes your music appeal to like your core audience. So like, are we ever going to see like collaborations between you with people like Brimo, like Asha, you know, just newer age artists who retain some of that same like trueness to their core fans like you do?
Yeah, well, if you want to see anything, you have to pay for it. So I think it's easy to go on Twitter and say, do this, do that, like as if artists are people that are sent on errands to go to. But that's not this. It's a business, you know. It's work, and I'm always talking to people about this. That what we do is work, and I really would love our people to start respecting the musicians who do music as music, not just music as entertainment. That it's work. So just to say, just do a collaboration. It's more than this. There has to be some kind of organic connection there. On the surface, two people might seem like they belong in the same basket, but just a little step deeper, and you realize, you know, you're putting, you know, two people who are not really supposed to work together like that. You know, if you're meant to work together, something will bring you together. Something organic, something push you. Maybe some people will say spiritual will bring you together, and then that somehow somebody will come up with the money to do the work. It's money that drives this work. To record one song costs a lot of money, the way I record. So when people ask me about, I say collaboration, go and bring the money now. If you bring the money and book the studio and book everything, I'm not going to start knocking my head against the wall to make music. And then I start knocking my head against the wall again to go and start doing permutations that will titillate my audience. I'm just one person. So maybe if people come up with those plans, with those with the funds and everything, maybe it's possible.
Okay. A second thing I wanted to
Excuse me, sorry, Akintunde, with all due respect. What you gave us was wonderful, but we can allow only one question or comment by participants. Very sorry about that. There may be more time later if we are allowed, but let us proceed meanwhile. Thank you. Blessing Ajishafe.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Yes, I'm very happy to be here. I've listened to Nubia since 2002 when I was in SS1 or SS2.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And I've attended a lot of shows at Uniben in 2008. You came to play for us.
Yes, well, yes.
AAUA, I was a lecturer there.
Oh, wow.
You signed your novel for me, Citadel's Blues.
Wow.
And I read a lot of poems. Just in line with what Akintunde was saying, why I think you might need collaboration. I know that you are not the commercial type, definitely, because of what you do. But somebody like me personally, I feel that bigger audience just needs to hear you. I don't know how that's going to happen, but bigger audience need to hear you. My generation and people younger than me, we don't know anything. We are blank. So we need to, when you see what is going on now in Lagos about, ethnic stuff, this thing, it just tells you that, we are dying mentally. So bigger audience needs to hear you. And that is why I just think, if there is a way you can, there are few mainstream artists who are still making sense that are quite deep. Of course, you mentioned Brimo, of course, Asha, of course, even Files, Falani Files. These are guys that are still making sense and they are still producing songs. I don't know if maybe in production or whatever, if any of these things can happen. People need to hear you. That's my comment. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So I would say the way people will hear me, it's the same way that they hear the popular pop musicians. People need to broadcast what we are saying. They need to broadcast our music. They need to share this music with their audiences. They need to stop being ashamed to say amongst their friends that they listen to beautiful Nubia. Many young people are ashamed to let their friends know that they listen because their friends tag our music old school music. Because our friends tag our music kind of like backward music. So you will see, we will put something on Twitter. People will like it, they will not retweet it. If one of their trendy artists put a picture of his nose on Twitter, it will go viral. Yeah. So this is about responsibility. Me going to sing with anybody is not what's going to extend what I need to say. I have already said. I don't have to sing another song again. I have said what I need to say to my society in all these albums. In fact, I said it in even just one song, Omojunri, 2006. If that's one song alone that people share and share and share it in your WhatsApp groups, share it, do the work that needs to be done. Do the work of discipleship. Do the work. The way you promote your pastor's messages and your imam's messages, the way that is how you've got to do it. The Christianity that we love to embrace, we are told it came through one man, 12 disciples. Now, how many billions are practicing Christianity, whether in its pure form or in its other form? How did that happen? Was it the one who started collaborating to make the message get out there? We are not doing the work we're supposed to do. If we love our society and we know that somebody is saying something good for our society, we need to broadcast it, whatever it will take. We need to spend our own money, our own wherewithal to get that music out to the people. See, all these collaborations and stuff is not what is it going to lead to? What is it going to do? What's it going to do? It's just going to titillate some people. Some people want to see whether A plus B, or what will A plus B sound like? What will C plus D sound like? Maybe it will lead to something. Maybe it will, what was that? Some of these artists you've mentioned, have they not done collaborations before? What has that done for the society? If the society itself is not ready to take one step. And the other thing you have to remember is this kind of, I'm not the only ones who have said this before. Many great artists before me have said this. This kind of music, you cannot force it upon people. People must come to it when they are ready for it. You're talking about the masses out there. The masses, you're talking about the masses out there. They have to be ready to listen. So when they are ready to listen, they will come to the music, or the music will get to them. But right now, if you're just throwing things at them, just be bouncing back, and you just get frustrated. But that doesn't stop you from doing the work of discipleship. Our fans who are listening to this, our fans, when we put up that we have a show, somebody shares it. You can, after this broadcast, go to my Facebook page, Beautiful Nubia, go check it. Sometimes they would like it, but they will not even share it. You will think they don't know how to do that. They know what to do. So my theory is that maybe they're just ashamed of us. That we are playing this Yoruba music. They don't want to be associated because they are trendy. They are doing the things that are moving. And they want to share what the guys who are playing Madison Square Gardens, what the guys who are winning Grammys, they want to share what these people are writing. They don't want to share what this kind of small, local, old man music. But they don't realize this is where their salvation lies. This music is where their light that will guide them to joy and happiness. This is where it lies. So, but you, our friends, have to do some of that work. So I'm throwing back to you. I'm not saying we're not going to do your collaborations. I'm not saying that too much, but I'm sure that's not the solution.
Thank you very much. Could we hear from Baba Aye?
Thank you very much, beautiful Nubia, and
Thank you, sir.
the interlocutors, and thanks once again, Prof. TF, for this opportunity. I've followed your music and poetry quite closely, and I always say this is a beautiful mind. And the question I want to ask, I want to take 3 threads from the discourse thus far to weave the tapestry of that question. I was happy when Barney spoke of when he asked for someone that sings, you know, a conscious music of consciousness. And then I blend this with what Tokpe Fagua said about, which boils down to the age-old question of, you know, art for art's sake or art for social change. I mean, and then what you yourself said about what struck you about Fela. Not so much the music, which itself is political,
Yes.
but as well as politics, you know. So for me, as I said, you interpret, you carry out what I would say a social and cosmological sense of consciousness. But how do we move from that to more actively throwing up the issue of change? And that question, it's not just about you, because we are all different individuals and we are our persons. But when you spoke about discipleship now, one of the things that came to my mind is, you know, before the disciples, you had the apostles. You have an apostle, you talk the Renaissance, your band, you know. You spoke earlier of, like, I mean, everybody has things they do, you know, for living and things like that. My question would be towards projecting from interpretation to change, and roles that you as a person, if you so desire, could further play. How are you thinking of mentoring beyond just, you know, the music, their projection politically, and not just in terms of, even for me, your musical and publishing body and your banker, I mean, to me, it's a powerful weapon, you know. Writing, you know, pushing, building folks that believe in, that are touched by your music, to take a step forward to building the Nubia, not now Nubia as in a person, but Nubia as in the Renaissance of Africa for the 21st century, based on emancipatory ideas that are inherent in your music anyway, you know, but also praxis that bear these emancipatory ideas. Thank you.
Okay, I'm not very sure I understand the question. I mean, I love everything you said, but I don't really get the question. Like, how do we, these ideas that I have kind of put out in music and in my books, like, how do we make them active? Is that, or that's, because I don't really, because but if that's what you're asking anyway, then I mean, my answer would be that, you know, what I have done and what I'm still doing is creating the things that I put out there. They were done actively. They weren't done with me sitting in an armchair. I have made huge sacrifices. I can stand sitting in front of you like this, and you think, oh, maybe it looks great. I have made huge sacrifices to be able to make that music. So sometimes people would ask me, when we went for a protest, you weren't there. You weren't, that's not, when you do protest, if I believe in what you're protesting about, if it's something that I believe, if I think this is how we should go about it, I will be there as just a regular individual, not as beautiful Nubia coming to lead you. That's not, but beyond that, my job is to squeeze the ideas out of me, out of a process of self-denial. a process where I have denied myself of a lot of pleasures. Keep doing this music to bring people together in order to be able to influence them to become influencers in society. That's my job, to create music that can sensitize large numbers of people. Now, beyond that, you know, whatever we have to do beyond that, well, we have to see the first step, where we have to see people actually start to spread these messages. Then we'll take the next step. But until you start to see those changes, like with Enio Banke as a label, you know, we've produced other artists. We produced Baba Chris Ajido on that label. We've tried to produce other young artists. We produce a festival every year. Just trying to bring people together to share these ideas. So, I mean, I think if we want to see the activism or whatever that we want to see, it has to first, people have to imbibe the messages. It's going to take a while. I think that's what I talked about earlier on, how we want quick change. The change that we need in Nigeria, it's going to take a long time. And so we are sowing the seeds now. I hope that satisfies. I don't think, I'm not sure. A bit, eh? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Cool. Olabode Bironke, please share with us at this point.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Tony Adepoju, for bringing me on. I have to say that I'm familiar with the music of beautiful Nubia, but not with the person. And it is the first time I would actually hear you speak and espouse your ideas and beliefs. And I think it is to the credit, really, of Professor Tony Falola for creating a forum that will permit this kind of conversations to take place. So I really thank him very, very much for all the work that he is put into, bringing all of us together. I have to say, I was also kind of impressed by how you navigated the questions that Professor Aziz was posing to you, which in essence was basically asking you to place yourself within the culture industry, to assess yourself. And the candor with which you did that was impressive to me.
Thank you very much.
So judging from your reference points, it appears that you and I might be contemporaries,
Okay.
So there's a question I have kind of been, so I have two questions, There's a question that has been worrying me, for some time, and I will need your help with it, which is, so I look at the landscape of the culture, since my, childhood, and try to assess the changes. Now, how do we describe the changes that have taken place in the culture? And I was kind of wondering, from your standpoint, as a producer of culture, as a musician, how do you kind of describe the transformations, for good or for bad, since you entered, onto the stage? So I'll stop at one question because I see that I got a text that I have to stop. So that'll be the question.
Oh, well, things have definitely changed for the worse. Changed, I don't even know if things have, we're in a very deplorable state, in Nigeria, and it's very saddening. It's something that makes, because I know as a songwriter, I don't like to say like somebody, but I do think a lot about these things, and it's things that actually make me very, very, very sad. A lot of the songs I've written have come from a very, very, very deep place of pain. They've come from a very deep place of anger too, with the slowness of our people to come towards positive change. But I strongly believe that perhaps looking at how Nigeria was created, looking at what we've been through, looking at what the different groups that make up Nigeria now, what they were all going through, the different states of development they were in before the British cobbled them together. Looking at all that and our recent history, I do think things have to go this way for them to get better. And I can then position myself at somewhere there as one of these agents of positive change. And it makes me feel like there's a purpose to what I'm doing. There's a direction to what I'm doing. There's an essence to what I'm doing. Because sometimes I joke with people around me that what if Nigeria was not, because sometimes my band members will say, Doctor, you're always thinking all these songs about changing this and changing. What if Nigeria didn't have all these problems? So, well, we'll find something to think about, maybe there's always something to think about. But I think being where we are now, it's a challenge to many of us who are writers and artists in every kind of form. It's a challenge to us, writers and songwriters and singers and painters, and poets and dramatists in whatever field. It's a challenge to us to start deploying our gifts to contribute to change in this environment and to start working together more, not like collaborating to sing songs to sell. No, to work together with humility. To start working together to see that we can create, because I always say, whenever a society is going to go towards change, you see it in the culture sector. You start to see the rumblings. You start to see a new art forms develop. You start to see the people embrace a new way of thinking. A new way of thinking. And if we can get our people to that new way of thinking, it's not about education, like, okay, people have to go to school and learn to speak English. It's not that. Because we can use our traditional language, our languages, to actually lift our people's consciousness. Because people often tell me, people are not going to school. How would they learn? I don't agree. Of course, we need education. We need to lift our people's level but we can speak in the languages. There's a video that I've often shared, and every time I share it, it goes viral. It's me talking to school children in a place in Ibadan, in Yoruba, in total Yoruba. And the way those children listened, the way they were so attentive. Their teachers afterwards told me this was like a miracle. And they were praising me. I said, no, it's not me. It's the fact that they can see someone who's up there, who they might think is this big man. But we've created a space where we're like brothers and sisters and we're sharing ideas. And even though I'm the one doing the speaking, they don't feel like I'm talking down on them. They know that I'm sharing wisdom that we can all be part of. So I feel that we can change things. Things are really, really bad. Things have gone. It doesn't help us that we have a huge generation of young people who have technology at their disposal, but many of whom are not using it for the right purpose. For example, you go on Twitter now, you see a lot of kids trying to do history and telling fake history just to get people to click on their things. You see people online now trying to write serious stuff. And I think, so it's a nice idea that they're trying to do this, but you are saying the wrong things. They're not. So, but we need to keep talking to this generation to keep trying to push our people towards positive change. And with my music, I'm going to keep doing that.
Okay, thank you very much. At this point, beautiful Nubia, what do you think to help conserve energy? Do we ask our speakers? We have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 8 people who wish to ask questions. Should we take the questions in batches? They should all ask their questions and then you respond after they've all spoken.
Please,
what do you think?
That will help us.
Very good.
And can we make the questions very straightforward? I know you all love me and you want to praise me, but you can just ask the question. It's fine. So that we keep it.
Okay. So what will happen now? I will call each member of the audience, one person at a time, then speak briefly, concisely, and we'll move to the next person. Thank you. So can we hear from David Ola, please?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, my name is David Ola. Beautiful who know me as Sonyaola. I sang with his brother, Olusegun Akinlolu. We got him an award together. He will know me as Sonya. Thank you so much for the wonderful inspirations. I've been with you for a long time. And one of your lines has taken me round the world. Tears are for babies, worries are for fools. Life will always bow down to the man with faith. Exactly. That is my line. Now, where I'm driving at is I've used that even as a strategy to get a lot of people's attention wherever I've gone. And that is one thing that we can drive. My question is simple, sir. There was a time I was trying to create what I call a ripple or a re-echo system of your content. And I was trying to get some a cappella guys to do your song and then do them in a cappella and then re-echo them to the audience that you can reach out to. Now, how visible is that? Because I know there's a lot of copyright to that. There's a lot of copyright that needs to happen to that. I remember talking with Bemi to see and then see how we can work that out. He's also in the UK with me now. So we're still thinking about it. I spoke with him just so, please, sir, is there anything to do a kind of re-echo? If there's none, how can we reach your, say, your media content? So I will begin to re-echo the element of your content. It's very viable. I'm a communicator and I've had the privilege to work with USAID. But we want to let's re-echo that. So that's just my question, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Can we hear from Olamide Idowu?
Thank you for the opportunity. I believe you can hear me well. Beautiful Nubia, I've been sending a few things to you now, and I know you are reading it. It's not a question. I will introduce myself, and I believe so much in collaborative work. Change is a process where we have to do so many things together. You are doing a great job. I've never seen you before. I've seen a lot of people. I know Rockway Winla, he knows me very well. We're in at the same time. I know Shegun Adefila in Lagos, from whom I got your number. And I've been trying to reach out to you. I'm the global coordinator of Do It Right Africa initiative, where we are promoting our culture and values, trying to see what we can do together. You are doing a very great job, and I've been shipping, retweeting, trying to see how we can support you. You are very clear with that. It is the number of people you are able to reach that can make the impact and the change that we need. Well done. I will get
Thank
in
you
touch
very
with
much.
you.
Okay, that's it. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Well done. Thank you. And
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can we hear from Gbemisola Adeoti? Hello, Gbemisola.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I want to especially thank the organizers, Professor Falola, and the panel of questioners. Beautiful Nubia.
Yes, brother.
Yeah. Nice seeing you again.
Very.
I always remember the collaboration that brought you to the Institute of Cultural Studies around 2013 or so.
Yes.
I mean, for me, you are one of the artists, writers, who combine that the art of music with that of writing, especially poetry. In fact, for me, your songs are more of poems. Than universal. One thing that we're trying to do at that time at the institute was to get you on board as the institute as an artist in residence, through which students in drama, in African languages, and of course in music will be able to interact with you and benefit more from your experience. In fact, it was going to be a kind of a school to street, connection. from the discussion so far, emphasis has been on how to influence the younger generation through which that change, that desired change that we're seeking can be achieved. So I would like you to maybe in one of your homecoming, in your homecoming, subsequently, you can see how you can collaborate with the Department of Music to give maybe seminars, lectures, so that the students will be able to gain from that practical experience of the field that you have in abundance, and also they can get inspired in their studies. And there are so many of them around in Ibadan, in Lagos, in Ife, in Ilorin, and so on and so forth. You can see, consider these as parts of your nursing the next generation project. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Keep on doing well.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Could we hear from Falola Oluwagbemiga?
Good day. I will be very precise. Beautiful Nubia knows me as Venga. He talks about not having places to have a conducive concert. I just want to know what are the criteria a place should have so that it will meet up with the standard of the concert, so that if we have any way to come in, we can know, okay, these are the standards we are going to be looking out for, and this is how we can help. There are so many other questions, but I just want to be particular about that.
Thank you.
Excellent. Could Tunde Jimo speak, please?
Good evening, everyone. Beautiful Nubia, I've come to your shows, I've read your books, I'm one of your very great fans. Actually, I always bring kids together and I teach them your songs.
Wow.
So, and I think I shared some videos with you recently. I have two questions. The first thing is that when I saw Olusegun album, I knew that maybe Olusegun had gone to be with the creator. So I would love to know, should we expect a music video about Olusegun? Because I would really love to see that. Then two, your shows, you said you only do 10, 12 shows in a year. I think that's too few. I think some of us who, every time, sometimes the last show I came, I was in Ibadan, I had to travel down from Abuja because, we don't get to see you often. So every time we think we have an opportunity, we try to maximize it. So please, if you can do more shows, and then some your distributions as regards your books and CDs. So yes, we know we have Apple and stuff, but some of us are still old school. I still have your CDs here, so I would love to know, if you can improve on some of those distribution channels, and then the music video. Should we expect Olusegun video? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Could Ademuyiwa Olatoye speak, please?
Thank you very much. I want to thank Professor Falola and other members of the organizing committee. My name is Wale Ademiwa. I started listening to you when I was in College of Education. That was 2001. And the first time I listened to you, I was like, yeah, what have I been missing? Now, let me go straight to the, see, we cannot overflog the place of collaboration because that is the language of 21st century. It may not be collaboration with people, other artists, but we need to collaborate with media and technology to spread this gospel. Some people have spoken about this collaboration, and somebody said we are dying, which is true. There is need for us to engage technology, especially in media, to both localize, because even we can't say at the local level, everybody's aware. Okay, we are losing our language, and also to globalize. So please, let's engage media, let's engage technology, not just you putting something on your page and anybody that the page will just like and share. All of us, we need to come together and extend this gospel. Thank you very much.
Okay, that's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah.
Could we please hear from Joe Lolo? Joe, you have the floor.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. I greet everyone in the house. Beautiful Nubia,
Thank you.
Olusegun Akinlolu. I am very happy to see you once again.
Thank you.
I am one of the happiest. Well, I see you as my grandfather in the arts. I see Brimo as my father, and I see Asha as my mother. And I inherited this life from you. You see my hand. So, well, there is something I want to say. I think your art is a kind of different art. If we look beyond the music, you are doing an alternative folk song. To me, in my own word, I think it is alternative. You are trying to preach that our tradition should not be static. Either we should embrace the culture that is transient. I think at this junction, are you not thinking of institutionalizing your art where you will consciously be teaching other people how to do this kind of transient art? Because if you look, observing your style, I was trying to observe your style, Caveman, Brimo, Asha, and some other people in this category. I even tried to dig into T.Y. Bilu, people who do alternative works, not works on the surface. I think we need conscious institutionalization of your kind of art so that there will be people who at a particular point or the other will come into this art consciously and be able to learn how to do it well. I think that is one of the problems we have with Fela Anikulapo's work. Everybody will come up today and say they are doing Afro, Afro pop, Afro jazz, and this and that. And some people are not even really getting the Afro right in it. So I want to know if you have any plan about putting your work, consciously institutionalizing your work for people to come and learn under you. I know Isaac John is there. We have always been coming around. So all those, why we know Emu Fest has always been running, but we need something that we need a conscious ground for people to come and learn. Somebody like me will be willing to. And I think I have been a fan of your music for how many years now? Even when I was in College of Education, I was one of the guys who brought you on ground back then. And I have friends that I think I have this beautiful Nubia, how will I put it now, syndrome. Everybody around me is being affected.
Thank you.
And that is how it is. I salute you.
Thank you very much, brother. Thanks a lot.
That's beautiful. Now, could David Okeowo address our guests? Dayo Okeowo, I'm sorry.
Okay, all right. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, good. Good evening, sir.
How are you doing, brother?
I've been following since 2001. I bought my first cassette when I was in SS1. So, and since then, I've had this cult following. So, and Iriajo, Son of the Sleep, and Soundbedder are my favorite albums. As in, I love everything, but I don't joke with these three. So, talking about Burning House and someone like Biko. Now, do you think we just had an election in Nigeria now? Do you think we'll be having a political leader like Biko soon in Nigeria? And then this Burning House, do you think we'll be able to pull out this fire soon so that this house will not burn to the ground? And then I watched your documentary on Res Luxin, and I just wanted to ask, are we having that kind of documentary about this legend soon? Like some other legends out there, we've grown up to listen to. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Could we hear from Sean Williams?
So good day. To be very direct, can you say a thing or two about Eseodo? Who is the persona, the protagonist behind Eseodo that is doing the Huruhara thing?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for all members of the audience who have asked questions, who have spoken. We are most grateful. So, beautiful Nubia, please feel free to respond to these engaging questions.
I'll do that very quickly. To Sonia, I remember you, Sonia. I remember you from the Harmonics. That was your group. Your group was called the Harmonics with me and a few other people. You guys were wonderful, amazing in those days. The feasibility of covering our songs in an a cappella form or in any other kind of form Of course, that's available. People have been doing it. You just have to write us at eniobanker@gmail.com. That's our email address, eniobanker@gmail.com. If you want to just write me after this, I'll give you the email address anyway. And then you can just write our manager there, and they'll set you up with the forms you need to fill and give you information for doing that. Mr. Olamide Idowu, thank you very much for your engagement. You just made a comment. That was very nice. Thank you. Please keep doing what you're doing, promoting our works and sharing all our social media posts and stuff like that. Professor Adeoti, thank you for that. You mentioned when we came to, I think it was 2014 actually, that 2013 was when I brought Baba Ajilo to showcase his book and for us to put his books in your library. But 2014 was when you actually honored me and you gave us a nice award and everything. We had a wonderful concert that evening. And after that, you did suggest that I could become an artist in residence. Well, that didn't work out. But definitely, if the music department gets in touch with us, we've been talking with them. Is it Dr. Kalejayi? Or we've been talking to somebody anyway for some time, actually, about putting up a show. You know the way we always operate, that at OAU, we've come to OAU for many years, where we write the Institute of African Studies, or is it Cultural Studies, and we'll write the music department or the Students' Union to see if we can collaborate to do a show there. All the shows we've had at OAU, there's been very few that we did on our own. Usually it's always been in collaboration with a department or with the Students' Union. So definitely we're open. I'm very open. I love the idea of teaching young people, of giving people a window into what I do, because people have to carry this on. Some people always ask me, are your children going to sing like you and take? I said, why should it be my children? Everybody out there is my child. In our traditional culture, everybody is my child. And there should be people out there now who are listening to what I have done, who should be able to take it further, who should be able to do something better than what we have done. So I'm always happy to open up this door and talk to people. So if the music department gets in touch with us, you can be sure that I'm open to to come in there to talk to the students, seminars or lectures. And I've done that with some other schools in the past. Benga Fashola, I remember you very well. You used to come to a lot of our shows in Ibadan. I know you. I remember you. You asked for the criteria that we request, that we need for venues. If people want to suggest venues for, please contact our booking officer at that email, eniobanker@gmail.com. They will give you all the details, what we're looking for, or generally, I think it has to be a good venue. We all know, and safety is always a big, an important, a big issue for us. It has to be safe, and it has to be accessible. It has to be central. It has to be accessible so that people can come from everywhere, and it has to have a stage. And if there's no stage, we have to be able to kind of get a stage there. So these are the things. But I'm sure they will tell you everything if you send an email, eniobanker@gmail.com. Mr. Tunde Jimo asking if there will be a video for Olumiwa. See about that. Videos cost a lot of money, especially in this time that we live in. Cost a lot of money. But we'll see if it's possible. If we get the funding, for it, we'll try to do 1 or 2 videos on that album. He also suggested that requested that we should have more shows. Like I said, I didn't say I said sometimes we have basic 12, sometimes we have 40 shows in a year. It depends on, what venues we get and what bookings we get and how much money we have to set these things in motion. So if we get the funding that we need, we'll do more shows. And then he also talked about distribution of CDs and books. We are always actively working on that. It's difficult to distribute books and CDs in Nigeria. The thing is, a lot of stores that many of us look at out there where they don't buy these things. You have to consign with them, which is you give it to them to sell, and then they give you your money back. Often you don't get that money back. And that is why over the years we've had issues where they sell these things, you don't get the money back. So we have just a few stores now that we operate, that we deal with. But we're always working on it, actively trying to improve on it. So if anything changes, we'll let you know. Mr. Ademuyiwa Olatoye talked about collaborating more with tech, especially with media. Well, that's also ongoing. That's something that we are very interested in. And if anybody has any ideas or any, we are really beyond. Like I've said many times, I don't really want suggestions now. I want people who are ready. I don't want advice. We're beyond that stage. There's a lot of advice coming from people in Nigeria. What we need to see is more support. So if anybody's ready to support us with this tech that you're talking about, then we're ready to embrace them. So we're looking for that. We're always looking for support in every way, in marketing, in distribution, even in production, in setting up our shows, in this tech and whatever. But it's the support we're interested in, not the ideas. I think we know what the ideas are. Joe Ololo, my man, he talked about institutionalizing art, like teaching classes. Yes, I've tried over the years to do that. I've done a few songwriting classes. In actual fact, as part of the EMU Fest, the Nubia Music Festival I talked about, for a few years we had music workshops where people will come, children will come, adults, to learn different instruments, and then I'll teach songwriting and music production. We're always doing that, but we're working on, and this when we did that was when we had the Nabanke Art Center at GRA. That center is now defunct. We don't have it anymore. But we're planning to open another one soon, probably in Ibadan. And then we'll be able to actually have real classes, where you can actually learn music production, where you can actually take from idea to the product, where we can start from how do you get these ideas? How do you turn them into songs? How do you then go about writing the songs, arranging them, putting in your instrumentation? How do you then produce? How do you get people together? And then how do you package it? How do you sell it? So we have all these things that we're planning with time, especially when we can get our center up and running again, then we'll be able to do that. Dayo Okeowo, what your beautiful man. Dayo Okeowo, I know many of you may not know that, but Dayo has done a lot of work for us over the years, often for free. In fact, usually for free. When you offer him money, he would say he doesn't want it. He's a graphic designer, he's a tech guy. And for years, he has done a lot of posters for our events. In actual fact, Dayo designed the jacket of our recent album, Olumiwa. He did it. Dayo, wonderful young man, wonderful human being. Thank you very much for all the work you've done for us over the years. You said will we ever get a leader like all those people I sang about in someone like Biko? We're in that process. Like I've said, we are saying the things that we need to say to revolutionize our people's minds. In saying the things that we say in this music, and hopefully we'll be able to produce a new generation that thinks, because leaders come out of the followership, they come out of the people. The people we have now that all of us like to abuse, they came out of us. And I like to say that they represent who we are, or at least who most of us are. If our leaders are greedy and selfish, it's because most of us tend to be selfish and greedy. We don't like to accept responsibility for how our society has failed. And to change it, I think we need to work on developing a new generation, 2 generations, or people who think in a different way, who think about the community first before themselves, who think about community service as a high goal. And we need to, once we get to that point, we'll get the leaders that we want, that will be like Biko that you're talking about. Burning House that you mentioned is a song about the environment, but it also could be a song about the country, right? It talks about how people in their negligence, in their greed, in their consumption, consuming, they're destroying their own environment and destroying the future for those who are coming. And what we have to do, the same thing, like, I've said it in my music all these years, we need to start dialing back. We need to start embracing change, a change in the way we think and act in response to our challenges, to our problems. Please, can I repeat those things I said earlier? Those values that I think it's important for us to embrace and for us to teach our children and for us to put out there, that the values of truth, of honest work, of courage, of perseverance, of patience, of humility, contentment. Contentment. You talked about Rex Lawson. Yes, that documentary about Rex Lawson, I'm very proud of it. Even though when it first came out, as usual, instead of people supporting it, some journalist friends of ours started, giving us negative criticism. Oh, you didn't do it properly. It's not well done. I said, I wasn't trying to take your job. What happened was that I like Rex Lawson. I love all those musicians, all those old musicians that we didn't celebrate enough. Our society does not celebrate our artists. We do not take care of them. We do not love them enough. Artists are the life force of society. Artists are the salt of the earth. Artists are the soul of society. Imagine a society without good music. And we just, what we like is to hear that they are sick. And then we start collecting money for them. The man has cancer, his tummy is bloated. All of us start sharing the picture of him like that. And we just chip in them like that. Artists, a society that wants to make progress must celebrate its artists when they are alive, and when they need the support, we must support them. And so I've always felt that we haven't done enough to highlight the work and the ingenuity of some of these artists. Especially someone like Rex Lawson, who wasn't a Yoruba, who didn't have that kind of network that will carry his music on, in the larger Nigerian market. So I went to Buguma, where his birthplace and his burial place. I went to Port Harcourt, where I was lucky to still meet people like Sonny Brown, who's late now. Sonny Brown is and Baba, the conga player, who spoke to Tony Odili, the old, and he's still alive. 90s, still playing that conga. I met those two musicians and others, and I met Rex Lawson's daughter, and all these people that I met and talked to them. Then I came back to Lagos and spoke to his contemporaries and those who had taught him, people like Chris Ajilo, who had trained him, and people like Orlando Julius, who, Orlando Julius was his friend, and other people like that. And Baba Chief Femi Esho, the CEO of Evergreen Music, who was a fan and who has a huge collection of all this high life music from the past. So I talked to all those people. I made that documentary. For me, it wasn't about being pretty. It was about telling a story. And I'm happy that people like you, Dayo, and other people love that stuff. And I've been trying to do others. Since then, I've talked to Abaji Mishola Anke. Recently, I talked to Mr. Angela Abodering, who was a connector between many artists in the 60s and 70s. So I'm actively doing this. I'm always looking out for who I can talk to, whose story I can tell, because I think those stories must be told. But others should be telling those stories too. We don't have to wait for when we have all the money to make a pretty documentaries, for example, don't have to be pretty. Don't forget that. Documentaries are not like movies that you put on net. No, documentaries can be made in any way. The important thing is to tell the story. Somebody might tell you that I'm saying nonsense. Tell them that I have a diploma in documentary making. And I listened to experts in documentary making who talked about this, who have done a lot of groundbreaking work. They don't have to be pretty. The important thing is the story. So if you, Dayo, or any other person out there knows a story that they want to tell, take your phone and go and tell this story and put it online. We're extending knowledge. We're teaching our people. Finally, to Sheung Williams, who asked about, that's the last one. Eseodo. Eseodo is a song from the album that the one that came before Olumuyiwa, that's Uruhara. Eseodo says, méjì ló mọ̀, ó mọ̀ tẹ́ni tó mọ̀ méjìlá, ohun mẹ́rin ló mọ̀, ó mọ̀ tẹ́ni tó mọ̀ mẹ́rìnlá, wá ń ké, wá ń pariwo. What has the experienced hunter never seen before? You don't know of two things. You don't know as much as the person who knows 12. You only know of 4 things. You don't know as much as somebody who knows 14. It's a message for all of us, because we talk a lot. Everybody is an expert on something. The most direct one that comes to me are people always coming to advise me about music, but they don't know anything about the music industry, about the business. They've never produced any album. They've never run anything. They don't go and advise medical doctors. They don't dare go and advise engineers unless they are engineers themselves. But they think they can advise musicians because musicians are what? Because we are people that just step on? Because we just make music? I don't just make music. You have to respect me and respect what I do. What I do is work. It is honest work, and it is important work. It is influencing thousands and millions of lives every day. It is very important work. So you cannot just come and advise me unless you have experience in that field. But you can come and support me. I'm very open to support. So SLDO just talks about general. It's not about me or anything. It just talks generally about us. Because sometimes there's a song in Akwejo, that gigi, where I said, it takes the wisdom of the young, the old, the males, the females, every gender. It takes the wisdom of everyone. The people you think are low class, the people who think they are the elite. It takes everybody's wisdom to build society. Yeah? So in the same way, this SLDO in the way is saying you are talking too much. You think you know everything, but there are people who probably know more than you. So that's what it is. Thank you very much.
Yes, that was absolutely fantastic. A wonderful journey through the life, history, vision, and achievement of a great artist, a powerful singer, songwriter, author, and other things which he has shared with the world. I wonder if at this point, Professor Toyin Falola, the primary organizer of this event, will want to speak with us. Is Prof ready to address us?
Yes, please. Thank you very much.
Okay, Prof.
You have to forgive my voice. A few of you know that I had stroke.
Sorry, Prof.
I was supposed to cancel this event and cancel that of Kunle Afolayan, but I said I will not cancel it. I'm recovering rapidly. I've gained 100% of my cognitive functionality. I'm just trying to gain my coordination. And I'll be on my feet very shortly.
Ashe.
I will put Adepoju on the spot because he and beautiful Nubia share many things in common. Adepoju is a writer, but he doesn't have a job that pays him at the end of the month. But there is no day he does not write. So can you tell them about this? Please, let them share your experience in terms of your passion with that of beautiful Nubia.
Okay, how can I say it in some? Writing is something I am compelled to do. I can't do without it. Even if I'm earning all the money in the world and I'm not writing, then life will not have much meaning. So how do I earn a living since I'm not really interested in earning a living from writing? That's the irony of it. I'm not interested. Whatever money, the money I get comes incidentally. So anyway, I work as an editor. I work as a writer on contracts. I also work as a publisher. So I earn a living from those things. But I don't write primarily because I don't write because I want to earn a living. I earn a living incidentally to the process of writing. That's how it works for me. It's a kind of compulsion, something I cannot help. I just have to do it.
Well, thank you very much. And I follow your writings and you've written about me a lot. We are very grateful to members of the audience. Richard Joseph, the distinguished political scientist, is just coming back. He sent me a message about how terrific this program is. We are very grateful. And when beautiful Nubia mentioned Tunde Kelani, you are probably not aware that he was in the program.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Joined us, as well many as others. And you probably do not know Baba Aye, who was asking you questions about activism.
No.
That's Nigerians, one of Nigerians' most preeminent socialists and activists.
Oh, wow.
I could see that you don't know him. And what it does is to say, how do you turn your project into politics?
Okay.
How do you turn your project into political mobilization? Fagwa will interview you. He's sitting in his joint. You can see the background. Fagwa, you want to talk about your place? Maybe you can come and play there.
Prof, I was just wondering if I would have the opportunity of saying that.
Now you have. Now you have. Go ahead.
Well, Nubia, we have a very small place, but of course, central and vibrant, with a touch of culture. So much, me gives a whole ambience of the entirety of what I believe you stand for and what you believe in and what I do. Those small, but we do have all necessary sound equipment. We have our own sound, we have our own drums, we have, but because myself and my band, sometimes we play here also. So, and unfortunately, there was a time that I had that you were in Ayobo, but I wasn't around.
Oh, yes.
That. That would have afforded those with the opportunity of bringing you down here to check out what we have down here. It will be a pleasure to host you whenever you're in Lagos. Nubia.
I look forward to that, brother. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank Barney. I've been listening to Afro pop since the late 80s. I'm just calling it Afro pop and things like that. So on public radio for many, many years. Thanks for all the great work. I'm Professor Assis, who is the head of school at Falola Cap, right? Am I correct?
Sir.
Yeah, we are very grateful. The Guardian came, Vanguard came, Tribune came. We have 5 newspapers who cover this event, and who will be reporting by Tuesday. Usually, you don't know what they're going to say. Because media sells by something. Maybe they say beautiful Nubia hates fella.
Yeah, that's the one I would sell.
Oh boy. That's the headline.
You can't anticipate them, but we are grateful they're here. We have to try. The way we run this program is a very beautiful technology. Our main audience is not on Zoom. We got a good audience, but we use Zoom to stream to live television stations, live radio stations. And we are very lucky about 12 countries where they've signed in, which they watch live. We will accumulate the figures, and by tomorrow we'll know the total number as they tell us. Sometimes we net 10 million, sometimes we net 20 million, but we won't know until they feed us with the number. But meanwhile, we are grateful to Mainframe. People join Mainframe as you are talking. They join Laroye TV. And we're in partnership with some radio stations and TV stations, Eastern Europe and China, who are also watching this program. Finally, because I've lost my energy now, we thank beautiful Nubia. And you'll be surprised that this is going to become a teaching tool. 5 minutes after you leave us, it's already on the internet. The entire recording, we do not edit it. We don't edit it. The entire recording will be released 5 minutes after this program has closed. We'll play some music of beautiful Nubia. If you want to enjoy some of his music, we keep playing the music. And until we meet again, the next person we are going to interview is the daughter of Kwame Nkrumah, We'll be talking about his father, like Fagwa talking about Pan-Africanism and activism. Thank you all for coming. It's been a very wonderful program. And I apologize for my help. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Thanks, everyone. Thank you so much.
Journey through the world, over land and over sea, I see different cultures and different people's ways. I was born where the sun never sets and never rises. I was born where the heat is like a second skin. Children crying on the streets, automobiles are making noise, the land is growing dry and weak, spirits dying low. The forefathers are calling me and never tire, never weaken, the pride in me is